bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
All right. Well. Fade to Black. It's Tuesday, and it is bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah, man. Today's Tuesday, June 6th. 156 days into the new year. Just 209 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in downtown Burbank, California, and I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black. For KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the planet, I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? I'm looking at the new Teddy video. Just got posted up here on YouTube. Yeah, man. Shot it earlier today at the house. Teddy. Everybody hail Prince Teddy. Tonight, very special guest back with us. Michael Lee Hill is here to talk about his connection to Bigelow Aerospace. Robert Bigelow was on 60 Minutes last week. Very controversial interview. We expected that. Well, at least the country got a big surprise, didn't they? You know, we've known things about Robert for years, but, you know, you go mainstream like that and you tend to trip people out. And so anyway, what's the connection? Well, tonight we're going to find out from Michael Lee Hill. Tomorrow night, we are doing a very special broadcast presenting the Disclosure Festival, which will be taking place in downtown Los Angeles on Saturday, June 17th at the L.A. State Historic Park. Tickets and info are over at disclosurefest.com, and we'll put up the links here in just a bit, but you can also go over to jimmychurchradio.com and click on the links there. The tickets are free. All you got to do, simple enough, just go straight to the website. It says right there, register here. Boom, you get your tickets. And there's going to be thousands and thousands of people down there. It's going to be a huge event. And I am going to be speaking there on the main stage, so you know where to find me. The main stage, I think at around noon, I'm going on. And there you go. I might introduce a few other people after that, so I might hang out. But I will be there with Rita all day long, so come and hang out. I did get a couple of emails asking if we were going to bring, T-shirts and do all of this stuff. Well, we'll probably do that, but we're not going to have a booth or anything like that. So just come and hang out with us. Okay, that's what we're going to do. All right, we're not going to work. No. Thursday night is another Fader Night with John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom live. And followed by open lines all night long. You know the numbers, 323-825-5045 or 323-275-9695. All right. Follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Over on Twitter right now, earlier today, shot a video of Teddy. He melts me. Little terrierist Teddy. Too cool. Digging holes in the backyard. It's unbelievable. He's supposed to be, if you look at his leg, his legs, and he's only this big, but his legs are as long as his body. His legs are as long as my forearm. And he's this big. He's a tiny little guy. But great video. Okay. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Follow, like, and subscribe. Go over to the website. Take care of business over there. The sandbox to hang out with us and chat all night long in Twitter is hashtag F2B. Any questions or comments during the show, hashtag F2BQ. Very simple. You can also email throughout the show, as in any night. Just make it good, and it'll make its way in here to me, and I'll actually read it. Jimmy at jimmychurchradio.com. All right. Don't forget, this month we are giving away a Get the Tea care package, right? Get the Tea care package. You want to get in on that. So the best way, the only way to do it is to go over to our membership area, become a Fadernaut. No purchase necessary. Just become a Fadernaut. You can do that for free. You get the bunker cam right there on Thursday nights on Fader nights. You get the bunker cam. You become a Fadernaut. And then you can go all the way through. You're going to get archive shows. You get the bunker cam every night, and you can go all the way to the Game Changer and get an autographed shirt or autograph. I'll sign a shirt if you want it. Autographed hats. The hats are not for sale. Man, everybody wants the hats. No, as you notice, we've made that so exclusive. Having given one away, nope, no friends. No, you know what? I gave one to Jeff from River Moon Coffee because he was getting sunburnt. So I had to give Jeff a hat. Other than that, you cannot purchase them. We don't give them away. It's just it. They are only there for the Game Changers. That's the only way to get the embroidered Fade to Black official hat with my signature on it. And that's what you got to do. And you get drawn into the party, and each month we give something away. This month it will be Life Change Tea, the care package from getthetea.com. What it's going to contain, I think, we're going to do like everything that I do. I think that's what we're going to do. Everything that I do, you should do with this care package from Life Change Tea. So you can thank Ronnie for that, one of our sponsors. Also, River Moon Coffee. This month we gave away a coffee bar. And who was the winner of the coffee bar this month? I have the name right here. Where'd it go? Bobby Keene. Bobby Keene won the coffee bar this month. How cool is that? All right, so that's all you got to do. Just become a member. All right. Disclosure Fest is coming up, though, and today is the 6th, and so it's in 10 days. It's June 17th at the Los Angeles State Historic Park in downtown Los Angeles. Tickets are free. All you have to do is register over at disclosurefest.com. When you go over to Disclosure Fest, there are maps there, everything that you need. They're going to have really cool food trucks and vendors. One of my favorite parts of any event are the food trucks and the vendors. So they're going to have plenty of that. They're going to have meditation tents and yoga and yogi and all that stuff going on, music, lots of live music, by the way. And so come down and hang out with us. Directions, maps, all the information that you need is over at disclosurefest.com. All right. Now, also coming up is ESETI, the ESETI Ranch, one of our bucket list events. And we are doing it July 4th weekend. Their Science, Spirit, and World Transformation Conference. And just click on the banner over at our site. Easiest way to get there from jimmychurchradio.com. Click on the ESETI banner. Tickets and info, everything that you need. Hotels, if you want to do that. If you can camp at ESETI, so you can do that too if you would like. But that is July 4th weekend. Night vision, we're going to do it all. And I want myself a little baby Bigfoot sighting. And we are going to do it at ESETI Ranch July 4th weekend. So please come and hang out with us. I'll be speaking twice that weekend. I think it's Saturday and Sunday I'm speaking. I'm going to do a radio thing with James. He's got his radio show, of course. And I'm going to do that, too. I don't know if that's Saturday night or Friday night. But anyway, come and hang out with us up at the East Eddy Ranch. And then, of course, we have Corey Good's conference coming up at Mount Shasta, and that is August 18th. And as soon as we get more info on that, we'll hit you with it. Let's get the show cracking. Today we have Michael Lee Hill on the show, right? But it's also, because Michael Lee Hill's one of those guitar gods. But also, the guitar god today, Steve Vai, is 57 years old. And if you ever want a Steve Vai experience, you want the real Steve Vai, right? Go and get the album Alien Love Secrets. There you go. That'll set the tone. Happy birthday, Steve Vai, today, 57. Paul Giamatti today is 50. Really good in the new show Billions, by the way. Robert Englund is 70. That's right, Freddie. Freddie today is 70. His father, by the way, John Kent Englund, was an aeronautics engineer who helped pioneer the development of the Lockheed U-2 spy plane. A lot of people don't know that about Robert Englund. Yeah. And also today, Slayer frontman Tommy Uriah is 56. How old are we today? If Tommy Uriah is 56, man, Slayer was just a bunch of 18-year-old punk kids here in L.A., and he's 56. Unbelievable. Where did the time go? All right, OTD on this day in history. Big day, 1949. It happened. George Orwell's 1984 is published. And also today, 5 years earlier from 1949, in 1944, was the largest amphibious military operation in history, Operation Overlord, codenamed D-Day. It was the Allied invasion of northern France. Fader fact. Here we go. Are you ready? Are you a victim of this? I just want to know. Post it in Twitter if you are. Only about 4% of people seeking treatment for spider bites actually have confirmed spider bites. 4%. 4%. Hey, that's a cool Paul Giamatti give. I'm going to retweet that. It's just ridiculous. Paul Giamatti. Can you believe he's 50? He looks much older than that, especially in Billions. I'm way older than Paul Giamatti. And I got to say, I'm aging pretty well. He's 50. All right. Where am I? Yeah, 4% of spider bites, of people claiming, going to the hospital, they need some kind of anti-venom. They're freaking out, and it's not a spider bite. Yeah, 4%. Very interesting. Okay. Tom's birthday should have been episode 666, right? All he does, he writes about, if you ever read Slayer lyrics, if you know anything about Slayer, that's pretty good, Eric. I like that. Serial killers, man. Tommy Uriah, he's all into the serial killers. All right, tonight Michael Lee Hill is here. We're going to talk about Bigelow Aerospace and his connection to Robert Bigelow. Tomorrow night, the Disclosure Fest special broadcast, which will be taking place in downtown Los Angeles Saturday, June 17th. And then Thursday night is another Fader Night with John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom live, followed by open lines all night long. One of the things that I wanted to talk to you tonight, as I do this every time I start my rant, right? Okay. What happened to spiders? River Moon Coffee. One of the things that just isn't talked enough about on this show, or in general, is the missing link. That's right. The missing link. Now, if you think about it, we have been raised. We have been taught our entire lives, talked about, told to, spoken to, forever, from the very beginning of elementary school all the way up through today. Well, your existence, You've been taught about the missing link, right? And I want you to think back to the first time that you remember hearing about being told about the missing link. You were a kid, 5, 6, 7 years old? I remember officially, I think I was in the first grade. I remember hearing a book on tape or something with headphones on in the library, and it was a book about the missing link, right? When you first hear about it when you're a young child, you don't understand, what it is or what it means. You kind of get the idea, but you don't know how significant it really is, because it's a really, really big deal. In fact, it's the biggest of all big deals. Which brings me to Darwin. How wrong was Darwin? I mean, was he really, really wrong, or was he just a little bit off? That's the first thing, because when you take a look at Darwinism and what it is, it's a theory of biological evolution developed by Darwin, stating that, all species of organisms arise and develop through the natural selection of small inherited variations that increase the individual's ability to compete, survive, and reproduce. Right? We get that. And then you have, the other watered down version, which is Darwinian theory. And it originally included these sweeping broad concepts of transmutation of species or of evolution, which it just gained traction and it gained acceptance when he published The Origin of Species back in 1859, which is not that long ago. It's just over 100 years ago. 140 years ago. And the ease of the acceptance of it, because back then science was so fresh. Everything, you have to think about radiation and electronics and the other things, sound and things that were being developed that were so new in 1859. Edison and everything that was about to happen in just a few years after that. So, but that allowed a lot of science to explode. But in 1859, in the way that Darwin was doing it and collecting species and looking at species and birds and the Galapagos Islands and all of that, and I get it. And he was, observing, and it was something that just made sense. It just made sense. You look at monkeys, you look at chimps, and then you could kind of get your mind around it eventually going back to being some one-celled animal or an amoeba floating around in the water that eventually, over millions and millions of years crawled onto land. Okay, all right, eventually became upright. Okay, all right. But there's problems with that. And then you have, and I'm going to come back to that, but then you have intelligent design, which is a religious argument for the existence of God. And it's an evidence-based scientific theory about life's origins, and some call it pseudoscience. And they claim that certain features of the universe and of living things are best explained by an intelligent cause, not an undirected process such as natural selection, right? Darwin. And then creationism, which is hardcore religious belief that the universe and life originated from God and divine creation. Now let's back up a couple of steps. Let's go to intelligent design for a second. Although intelligent design, and that part of it and God, no, I need to remove the God part out of it. But I've talked a lot on this show about the odds of Darwin and the odds of that way of thinking and the creation of DNA and different species, it just, and millions, it doesn't add up for me. It's happening naturally and by accident. Today I don't buy into it. I don't. But when we go to the next possibility down the chain, which is intelligent design, this is where my brain, I've smoked way too much weed, but this is where I kind of lean. And I lean that direction not because of a God, but because the creation of us, that missing link. Life in general, yes, but us, Homo sapiens sapiens, us, is without a link. So Darwin's theory doesn't apply to us. We didn't evolve from anything. We didn't evolve from anything. We didn't evolve. We are completely different from all of that. We just appeared. And the applications of Darwin to us would have taken, 100 million years, and there's nothing before us, right? And we never evolved into anything after us either. We're still here. We're the same. So, intelligent design. The universe is so old and so complex. This is where I think ultimately we are headed if we are going to resolve these questions. The universe is so old that to have it just explode, it contracts, goes down into nothing. Gravity just pulls it in, and everything that ever was is now so tiny that you can't see it, and it's so compressed, and then turns around and explodes and expands, and then everything just accidentally combines into golds and minerals and gases and acids and and forming stars and planets, and it expands out and everything and we are here today. No, I'm not buying that. What I am buying is that there is somebody out there that is older than us, an intelligence that created the universe, that literally just created the universe and created the other universes that are out there. Because if we look at a multiverse situation where we go to the end of the universe, we go to the edges of everything, we take a peek out and we look to see what's out there, well, you're going to see another universe expanding towards this one, and one below you, one in front of you, one above you, and just infinite amounts of universes. Now, so what you're saying, if we contemplate the multiverse thing, is that each one of those universes was also an accident. It had its own big bang, and it retracted into nothing, and then when it couldn't suck down onto itself anymore, that it exploded and turned into the same thing that is here. No, I don't buy that. And the age of our universe with the intelligences that are here, like us, we're retarded, but there's smarter things out there than us, that it's continuing in an infinite amount in each direction. Universes. And there are older universes than ours, younger ones, but there has to be something that has evolved through the infinite of time, because space does not end. It just doesn't end. I know it's a harsh concept to think about, but ever since I was a little kid and I thought about all of this stuff, I mean, a very young 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old kid, that the universe is all there is, and when you get to the end of it, there's nothing there, and then on the other side, there's nothing. There can't be nothing. There's space, and it goes on forever. And people can't wrap their head around that. And through that foreverness, there are other universes. And so when you think about the age of that, the age of everything, there is something out there that is so brilliant that they're doing this stuff. Maybe they even have a family, right? Maybe there's a family of them, and they have cousins, and they're creating cousin universes. Which brings me back to the missing link. We just didn't appear here. You know, was it intelligent design? Was it divine? No, but it was something smarter than us that just put us here. And I firmly believe that. So when we talk about the missing link today, what is it? There isn't one. There simply isn't a missing link. Collecting fossils and fossil history and the fossil record around the world, we've got lots of fossils from lots of different things. The one fossil that we cannot find is the one that Darwin said should have been there, and that is the one that was preceding us. It doesn't exist. We are completely unique. So we were always taught about this missing link, and as it turns out, we've been lied to. There isn't a missing link. Now, does the man know that there's no missing link? Probably now today. In 1859? No. In 1900? No. I mean, fossils, I just think about the discovery of the dinosaurs and fossils from around the world and how they were happening. This is all a new part of science. Okay? The missing link doesn't exist. It will never be found because somebody out there that's really, really smart, just put us here. And that's it. It's the simplest answer to everything. It's not God. It's not religious. It's not creationism. It's not intelligent design. I will argue with anybody about this. It's just that there has to be something that is so evolved that has been evolved before the universe was created. Before that was created, there was somebody out there, right? And that's where I'm going. And that is your missing link discussion. And people don't talk about it. They don't talk about it enough. And I don't understand why. Well, it's because there is no missing link. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Michael Lee Hill is here. We're going to discuss the Bigelow Aerospace connection, the Anunnaki, his life, all of that, and we'll probably get some music in, too, as well, because he is a fellow shredder. Tonight, Michael Lee Hill. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. I'll be right back. Stay with us.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hi, folks. Let's wind the clocks back 60 years. Food was different. Food provided health and nutrition, and using supplements was minimal. Unfortunately, now we have chemicals, GMOs, herbicides, and pesticides that can be quite lethal in the name of our food supply. And, of course, the ever-loving dollar. Supplementing our diets can be very important to stay healthy. Cleansing from daily intruders to the body might be critical. Live strong and take charge. Log on to getthetea.com. Our herbal tea is a great way to cleanse from intruders. Our supplements is a great way to maintain and improve your health. When your health is not up to par, go to getthetea.com. No GMOs, no fillers, and organic. And very helpful in keeping you at the top of your game. Life is too short to feel, you know what I mean. Stay in the game, at the top of your game with getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Again, getthetea.com.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA. The Planet.
Win big with KGRA this summer. Tickets and hotel accommodations to the biggest conferences, autographed books and DVDs, chances to win all-inclusive conference cruises, and private dinners with your favorite KGRA hosts. Click the contest tab at kgraradio.com for your chance to win big this summer. Your contact for the best alternative talk radio on the planet. kgraradio.com.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. Yeah, man. Tuesday night. Our guest tonight, Michael Lee Hill. Tomorrow night, the Disclosure Fest Los Angeles is going, well, it's going on in next weekend, but tonight we're going to do a special broadcast. We're going to bring on the producers, a couple of the speakers that are going to be there, and we're going to talk about disclosure tomorrow night, beginning to end. But tonight, it's Michael Lee Hill. He is an award-winning musician, filmographer, UFO experiencer. His footage of the Lake Erie UFOs has created a Billy Meier-like buzz, and Michael seems to have developed an intuitive relationship with these craft. In his home state of Ohio, Michael has been cataloging video after video of UFOs over Lake Erie. I've seen the latest ones, too. They're pretty amazing. The phenomena consists almost entirely of pulsating orbs of light, unusual lights seen changing colors, converging, and separating over the lake. Stories of the unexplained phenomena date back over 150 years to the indigenous North American Indian tribes. Bigelow Aerospace, on the other hand, and Robert Bigelow were recently featured on CBS's 60 Minutes. Tonight, Michael Lee Hill will talk about how Bigelow contacted him, sending people his way, saying that if they want to know what these UFOs are, they needed to talk to Hill. Tonight, we're going to get the full story from Michael, and I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black, our good friend, the Shredder, Michael Lee Hill. Michael, good evening, my friend.
I like that new nickname, Michael Lee Hill, the Shredder.
The Shredder. The Shredder. Today's Steve Vai's birthday, man. That's pretty cool.
It's very cool. He is one of the sweetest, most enlightened people on the planet. So happy birthday, Steve.
You know, there's nothing cooler than watching Steve noodle. Right? You watch him noodle. His stupidest, dumbest, no thought behind it, disconnected noodle is better than you and I will ever play in an entire lifetime.
You know,
Say yes.
We're going to be talking about aliens, right? I think. Well, I'll just leave it at that.
I know, right? I know. It's freaky. It's really freaky. I've seen him just sit and goof around. You know, it's just like, dude. I need to hit rewind on my memory and get that back. And it's just anyway. Steve I, happy birthday. He's 57. So anyway. Back to you really quick. You posted I want to talk a little music, and then we're just going to jump into what we need to get out of the way tonight. But you posted a picture of a guitar a couple of weeks ago, and you said, this is my new baby. What was it? Because I couldn't tell what the guitar was. What was it?
It is an acoustic guitar made by Emerald Guitars, and they're out of Ireland. This actually has a Steve Vai connection because I won this nationwide guitar contest that Steve had sponsored. It's called the Ibanez Steve Vai Tonos Guitar Challenge.
Right.
And this company that Steve was involved with, they're called Emerald Guitars, and they recreated that guitar from the Ultrazone out of this new space-age material that's like carbon composite. And they also made acoustic guitars. So make a long story short, they offered me an endorsement deal. And these instruments are amazing because, up until now, anytime you had an acoustic guitar, there's tons of bracing that had to be used on the inside of it, just physics to build the guitar.
Right.
And the body and the neck were two separate pieces. Well, since these are carbon composite, the whole body and neck is molded out of one piece. There's no bracing, so the guitar actually resonates so much better than a normal guitar. And Steve actually ended up using one of the Emerald acoustic guitars on his album Real Illusions, and he just said it had the best response through the whole frequency spectrum, from bass to treble, of anything he had ever tried. So my big plan is, I've been guided into this topic of cosmic harmonious frequencies with 432.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to be playing some live shows at sacred sites and doing almost like frequency healing baths, and this guitar is a big part of it.
And how does it sound at 432?
It sounds unbelievable. You know what? I'm just reinvigorated with love of music and just playing it in 432. I'll tell you what, the easiest way for people to even be able to wrap your heads around this, with an acoustic guitar, you got a decibel reader. You go to Radio Shack, get yourself one.
Right.
In 440, say you're at, 60 dB or something.
Right.
By knocking it down 8 cents, you'll gain 1/3 decibel volume just by nothing but tuning down. There's more information in the signal. Using something like cymatics, which is a new scientific avenue of looking into it, if there's more sacred geometry, there's more information in the signal, well, everything comes out, all the overtones and the harmonics and everything. When you tune down, to be honest with you, it sounded like I had a harmonizer pedaler going, because I think I hired Cymoscope to image my guitar at A equals 432. By the way, they freaked out. They said, we've used this scientific technology to image everything. We've used it to image dolphin noises and baby noises and every frequency known to man, but they said we've never imaged an electric rock guitar. And I used my Joe Satriani amp that he offered me for an endorsement deal as well, which was mind-blowing. But so here's these scientists going, we've never seen anything like this. What the Satriani amp is doing is creating a cymatic image that has more complexity and more multidimensionality and more structure in it than anything that they've ever seen. And they thought it was because of the tubes that are being used in the amps. Guitar amps are still one of the only things that uses vacuum tubes.
Right.
So what that's doing to the signal to create that, Hendrixy Van Halen crunch is doing something to the signal that's making absolutely stunning geometry through a liquid medium like water. And so the image has kind of got a life of its own, and like Nassim Harriman kind of took it under his wing and put it out through the Resonance Project. So it's really cool how things are unfolding. But
well, and I think that more and more people are getting hip to the 432 thing because for the basic reason that it's a tangible. You can hear it. You don't have to have the power of suggestion or imagine, that you're closing your eyes and seeing light, whatever, where some things can get out there a little bit. But 432 is a tangible thing. You can actually hear it. and people respond to it. Right.
Yeah. And it's really hard for me, like, because as you know, if you go to a musician's night or something, they're going to be all in 440. So you can't go in 432. It will sound like a train wreck if they're in 440 and you're in 432. So for those instances, I have to retune to 440 so I can go and play with other people.
Can you tell?
Oh, dude, it is so. It's like it's they're lifeless. It's like, ugh, what the hell happened?
Right.
They just don't resonate the same way that they should. We knock it down 8 cents, and all of a sudden, it comes to life.
Well, I'll tell you something else that's really funny. It has nothing to do, but everything to do with 432. But there was something about Eddie Van Halen when he came out, when he tuned down to D, right?
It was a half step.
It was a half step. It wasn't a whole step, and it was in between. It was tough for guitar players to figure out back then too, as well. They were like, "What's going on?" I'm referring to 1980. It was a different world back
absolutely.
then. But
yeah,
but it had
I think that's fascinating.
It had a different tone.
Yeah, and those people went on to create timeless music because a lot of those musicians took that half-step down tuning.
That's right.
Leonard Skinner. There's a whole list of them.
There is.
And, the idea was that it put it into a more human-friendly singing range. And by the way, that takes the A note down to 418. So it's not, but it's not perfect, but it's a hell of a lot more perfect than 440.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly. And people responded to that Van Halen tone, the brown sound, that Eddie used to call it. And but it was because it wasn't in the 440. And I think it had a lot to do with it. And the more that I look back, the more that I know about 432, and you think about what Eddie was doing back then, it was a weird choice of, it wasn't a whole step. It was a half step, and it was a difficult tuning to get into. You had to reset up your guitar. You had to do a lot of different things to get your guitar tuned there. Man, I feel like we're doing that metal show right now, but it's really true. And all of those albums had a sound, a flavor to it that was different than everything else, and people resonated with it. It certainly wasn't, David Lee Roth's vocals. There was something else there, and it was that tone that they created, that color, and it sounded so good and so different from anything else, and you could tell right away when you heard it. So, all right, let's move on. Man, we just did 15 minutes of music. And I could do 3 hours with you, Michael. It's so much fun, and I just don't talk enough music on this show. For everybody, let's go back with you and your introduction into the world of UFOs and the Anunnaki. Take us back to the very beginning, and let's kind of set the stage for the rest of the show. When did all of this kick off for you?
Well, as a child, actually, I used to have all kinds of visitation, and from tall graves, actually. I remember I would ask my mother, how come Santa Claus's elves are coming to visit me? It's not Christmas. And but these weren't scary. Matter of fact, when they showed up, I always perceived that they were calling me outside, and they'd be like on the awning, and they'd be handing down gifts to me that were in boxes. And it was never anything scary, and I was never hurt, nothing like that. But in my mid-20s, I kind of got sucked into 3D land and became a manager for a company that made dollar bill changers for vending and gaming and whatnot. But it wasn't until the mid-2000s, around 2005, had a change of direction in my life. And that company that I was working for, I had worked there for 15 years, and they got bought out by a bigger company. And I decided I was going to give everything I had to music, being guided into that realm as well. And the more I learned to meditate and stuff, I really started to have a lot of contact again in the mid-2000s. And I was having band practice one day, and me and the bass player went out back. He smoked cigarettes. So we went back out there just to get a breath of fresh air, and we seen a UFO right over Lake Erie. And that sparked my curiosity because it stayed for about 10 minutes and it was very close. I didn't get that one on film, but I started finding anywhere I could find a beach or, somewhere to go and hang out. And I'd go down around sunset, and I would just be ready. If a big ball of light went by, I was sitting there with my Sony Handycam, waiting for it. Well, I started to accumulate quite a library of footage, and that leaded into the History Channel contacting me. And because some of my footage went viral on YouTube, my YouTube page is Frozen Hill for anyone that wants to check it out. And right now there's over 4.5 million views to the footage. And so the History Channel said, we want to do a show on Skywatchers, and we want you and the footage that you've taken to be part of the show. Well, instead of 5 minutes, that was the original plan, it ended up being a whole hour-long episode on me and another contactee whose name was Terrell Copeland. And how this all unfolded was, unbeknownst to me, he was interviewed by the UFO Hunters crew 2 weeks before me. And what they had found out is he had filmed these same orbs of light I had the same story of contact, and the whole kind of spiritual message that was given to him was the same as myself, and that is like the law of attraction kind of stuff. You know what I'm talking about? Thoughts create reality, bed of information. But what was strange is he had an unknown blood anomaly, and he was being checked out to be shipped out overseas, and they found this unknown blood anomaly. None of the best military doctors in the world could figure it out, so they ended up giving him an honorary military discharge, from the Marines. And so the History Channel thought, wouldn't it be interesting, since we both had such similar stories, that maybe I would end up with that same blood anomaly. So just on a whim, they flew me and Terrell to Boston to have our blood work done by a Harvard professor. His name was David Systrom. And the end of that episode is when they revealed to me at the hospital that I had the same blood anomaly. And this was really shocking to me because, first of all, I asked them, wait a minute, this isn't a TV show anymore. Like, what the hell are you talking about?
Right.
And he said, what do you think unknown means? I was like, wow, that was kind of rude. You know what I mean? I was like, what, do I have something to worry about? And he said, we don't know. He said you should contact your biological parents if you can, because they found out I was adopted. He said, see if this is something hereditary that goes down the family tree. But he said, we don't know what to tell you because we've never experienced. I can get into what it is if you want.
Continue. No, I want you to continue the thought.
Yeah, because it all ties into what's about to be revealed. Period. Anyhow, the difference in our blood that they found is an enzyme called creatine kinase, and all of our brains release it. The normal amounts of that are about 25 parts per liter of blood, and if you've had muscle damage, it'll shoot up to about 300 tops because the creatine kinase brings extra oxygen into the bloodstream, and that facilitates healing in that area because the more oxygen in the blood, the more chi, electricity at a cellular level. So what they found, and we almost had identical levels, and that was right around 2100. Both of us had. So if you got a normal level of 25 parts per liter of blood, we were both at 2100. And they couldn't find any medical reason for these astronomical levels of CK, which in turn is truly just really super oxygenating the blood, and which is going to bring to a lot more chi and
how many
life forms.
Right. I mean, how many times have these doctors ever experienced that much CK in somebody's blood? Was this a first time for them?
Yeah, and then they had two of us. The Harvard professor couldn't. He said, I don't know. I can't even fathom. He said, the only thing I could think of is that there's some kind of unknown virus. He said viruses can work at the level of DNA. And he said, we all think of viruses as bad, but it's one of the only things that can work at the level of DNA. And he said maybe it's some kind of unknown virus that's tricking the brain into releasing these massive amounts of creatine kinase. And since it's a bloodline and it's done from birth, the body kind of just adapts to those higher levels. And sets everything up. Since my contact with the Anunnaki, I actually heard this is an indicator of their Nephilim bloodline.
Right.
And it's because the human vessel needed more chi available because they have such a high energetic level. When they were trying to incarnate into a normal human vessel, they would spontaneously combust. Didn't work out real well. So we'll get into that.
Has anybody contacted you, certainly since this show? I mean, your name is really, really, gotten out there now. Has anybody heard this show and reached out to you because they've had the same elevated CK levels?
Yeah, and actually it's kind of freaky. One was in the military, and he said you're the only other ones that I've ever seen that had these elevated levels of creatine kinase. And he said that I think he was in the Army, and at night they came and abducted him out of his bunk, and he awoke in a hospital. And he was tied down, and they had IVs, and he was in there for 3 days, and they were trying to get his CK levels down and trying to figure out why his body was releasing these massive amounts of creatine kinase. So it's kind of spooky to hear. He wasn't treated very kindly, and they were very, very interested, the powers that be, in these high CK levels in this individual. So, yeah, I've been contacted, not many, but yes.
Yeah, very interesting. Okay, and then you, I want you to share your experience with. I don't want to put words in your mouth. The weekend where you met somebody pretty special in a tent.
Oh yeah. Well, what happened was the show that I did for the History Channel. It was the UFO Hunters show. Season 1, and it's called Alien Contact. That episode aired in March of 2008. In the summer of 2008, I went to this festival called Sirius Rising. At that time, I didn't even know what an Anunnaki was, and I didn't know they were the Sirians. So I guess it makes sense to meet them at Sirius Rising.
Yeah, that's weird, right?
yeah, but I had no clue. Dude, I thought I was going camping. I had no clue what I was going to. And I was wondering why there's a serpent symbology everywhere there, and now I know. But so while I was there, let me back up. This campsite, you could actually own a lot of land there, and you could have structures that were built like decks and stuff, and they would go and have pull in a camper. And so this lady owned this campsite, and they had what they called the genie bottle, because it was a round gazebo and it was done with very beautiful fabric inside. And when you got in, it was all candlelit inside, it had a chandelier, and they had a round couch. And it kind of had those fabric where it had sacred geometry all over. I'm sure you've seen what I'm talking about, probably.
Sure.
So make a long story short, one of them took me under his wing, and he said his name was Loki. And there was no Thor or nothing on TV, but I'm telling you, that's what he said his name was.
Right.
So, he was going back to the campsite, and I said, well, I'll go with you. And, I wasn't doing nothing. So when we got back there, he said, there's some people in the genie bottle that's been waiting to meet you. And, so I went in there, and they said, we heard you've been filming us over Lake Erie, and we also heard that, you were just on the History Channel, and we want to discuss the blood anomaly that was revealed because it's truly an indicator of our hybrid bloodline on this planet called the Nephilim. And, thought we should say hello and tell you what is going on.
Now, at this point, you honestly know nothing. You were filming lights over Lake Erie. You did the thing on History Channel. Had your blood checked, but everything else, the history of ufology and Sitchin and Sumerian, nothing, you knew nothing about any of this, Nephilim and nothing, all of this was new.
Absolutely new. I had never heard of the Anunnaki. This is 2008. There was no Ancient Aliens on TV.
Right.
And they told me, we've been known in your past as the Anunnaki. And they said that what had happened is, at one point he said, we need to know what you know. because they found out. One thing that happened was he said, do you know anything about a gentleman who was just on Coast to Coast talking about a certain Boyd Bushman? And that was David Sarita.
Right.
And they said, do you know anything about how this information was released? Because I work for a group of people, he said, that decide what gets released to the public on the extraterrestrial subject, and this Boyd Bushman information was not on the list, he said. And he said, how could that be? And I said, well, it's because that's my film. Me and David partnered on it, and I willed it into existence. And he kind of sparked up. He's like, wait a minute. We need to know what you know. And he brought out this wand. And actually I heard someone just told me that something very similar is in Whitley Strieber's account of his encounter. But anyhow, it was a wand that had a purple diode at the end of it. And he pointed it, and I could feel it stimulate my third eye. Actually felt really good. You know, I probably started to release a little DMT or whatever, and it wasn't a bad feeling. And all of a sudden, he, like, got real quiet, and he started crying. Like, tears were in his eyes. And he said, oh, my God, you're one of us. He said, how is it that you're here? And I said, well, I'm just here. He goes, we've been waiting for you to surface. And we're not real sure how it happened. It's a miracle. But we've been waiting to have a council meeting. And since you're here, would you mind if we had it right now?
Did you feel, well, we're going to hit a break here, so we'll continue the story after the breaks. But let me ask you this. Did you feel at this point that this guy was absolutely, butt nut crazy, and that, this was not where you wanted to be, and you needed to get out of there and get back to sanity? Did that cross your mind?
Yeah, well.
It had to.
Yes and no. They convinced me. They let you know you're not dealing with someone from this planet. He became faceless, and I heard it's a calling card of them. The whole no-face persona.
Right, but he hadn't become faceless yet, though.
Oh, yeah, he did. The minute I walked into the genie bottle,
I
couldn't see their faces.
I thought that was later. I thought that was later.
No, that's right off the bat. The first time I walked in, my first words to him was, can I see your faces? He said, no, you'll have to wait till tomorrow to see our true faces.
Okay. All right. Let's take a break right here, and we got to pick this up when we come back. I was hoping, you know why? It's because we had to talk guitar for 15 minutes, Michael. That's your fault, bro. It's your fault.
It's all good.
It's all good. Our guest
all's well that ends well.
Our guest tonight, Michael Lee Hill. It's going to be one of those nights, everybody. Buckle up, get comfortable, light a heater, get your drink of choice, cuddle up to the radio. And we'll be right back. More with Michael Lee Hill right after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. Yes. We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Ancient Life Oil. Life-changing. the real oil. CBD is truly ancient life oil from the source. This oil has no psychoactive effect and is also legal in all 50 states. When you're healthy, you're happy. The truth about this wonderful plant is that it wants to give back to mankind life, longevity, and happiness. Ancient Life Oil are golden grade, all organic, non-GMO, and infused with high-quality liquid coconut oil. It's simple. Just go to ancientlifeoil.com today. That's ancientlifeoil.com. The best, purest, organic, and non-GMO CBD in the world. Go back, Lee Tappy. The statements made regarding these products have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Please consult your healthcare professional about potential interactions or other possible complications before using any product. What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring 2 Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The 2 full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129 and use the promo code JCRTWS and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go back, Lee Tappy.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
All right. Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Michael Lee Hill. Now, follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Get that out of the way. But, Michael, that's Chris Frazier right there.
Right on. Steve Vai's dude, huh?
Yeah, man. That dude can play, man. Like, you know, I'll tell you something about Chris. Right after that album that you're listening to was recorded, right after Steve Vai's Alien Love Secrets came out, this nightclub opened up in Burbank, and the owner, Tom, was part of our family, our circle, right? And so for the first, check this out, just imagine this for a second. For the first month, I was, for the first 30 days, you know, helping them kick off this club. Really nice place. Still there. It's beautiful. It's called the Burbank Bar and Grill. And so anyway, the first month, his band was that band that you're listening to right there, Chris Frazier, Doug Aldrich, and Keith St. John was singing, and I was the sound guy, right? I was the sound guy. And but so every night for a month, I got to mix that band. I mean, I did it anyway before, but I'm just saying I went back to the old life of being a sound guy at a bar, and with that band every single night. Just imagine kicking back, watching Doug shred, you know, for 5 hours a night. Yeah, it was pretty cool. But watching Chris play, which I'd seen Chris play a million times, but when you do that night after night after night after night, the dude is just absolutely incredible. So, okay, anyway, man, see, I just get sucked into the music conversation. Okay, so let's go back to the genie in the bottle. So you're there, and let's pick up where you left off. I had said, did you think that he was just, you know, just out of his mind crazy? Did you want to get out of there? And that's where we left it. Let's pick up from there.
It freaked me out a little, obviously, you know. But when he said, you know, we want to have a council meeting, and first of all, he got into the Boyd Bushman stuff, like I said, that led to all this. And during that, because who I found this out is he was known as Marduk back in Sumeria.
In the
known
day.
as Ra.
Right.
Which Amen, Ra. Amen means the hidden one, no face. And I've learned it's like some of the Anunnaki thought, the human can't see our faces, so it was put into almost like when they come and interact here, they appear as faceless. And anyhow, they said they wanted to have a council meeting. I said, well, man, I have no idea what you're even talking about, and I don't know what an Anunnaki was. And they told me I was once known as Ea. And, if you don't know what the Anunnaki was, it sure as hell doesn't mean anything to them telling you that you're Ea. But I can tell you I've asked them for confirmation in some of the ways that confirmation has come. But anyhow, they said we want to have a meeting we want to discuss what everyone's thoughts are, what effect it will have on the mass consciousness, because very soon there would be another celestial object visible in our night skies, and it wouldn't be debatable. And it's pretty interesting because, as you know, in January of 2016, for real, it got announced through all the mass media that they found Planet X, that there is another planet in our solar system, and that's exactly what we're talking about.
Right.
And they said it's coming back, and it will be visible, and they said it won't be debatable, and they said it's going to lead a lot of people to know, well, wait a minute, isn't this, because they told me that right then and there was this author, Zecharia Sitchin. I'd never read anything by him, but they said there was this professor, he's got a lot of books out, and it was on that planet is inhabited, and people are going to go, well, wait a minute. Isn't this exactly what he was talking about? And aren't these the people that really built the pyramids and, interacted with Sumeria? And this is in our actual ancient history written by our ancestors in clay tablets. And they said they wanted all of our opinion on what effect we thought it would have on the world's institutions, on government, on economic, on just level out, just how people would respond. And a lot of people in that council meeting, because there was about 7 people that came in at that point. I didn't know who they were. Some people said that we weren't ready, and they feared panic from religious fundamentalists. And but most people, when they got to me, I was just like, I think if we didn't have all this suppression and keeping us in a state of survival mode, and humanity had a chance to come to fruition, I think mankind has a lot of potential. And if mankind isn't allowed to show its true potential, then it's not a fair test anyhow. And I do think that people are ready. And so it went around to everyone. At the end of that conversation, Marduk said, well, it must be time. We'll start preparing the masses for this reality that the Anunnaki are real. And I wondered how that would happen, because I can tell you, when I came home, I went to Google, and there was very little information out at that time, which I found very strange. And they said that they would start to prepare people for this higher reality of, the Anunnaki being real. And all of a sudden, Ancient Aliens is on TV. And so that was the first meeting. Things have progressed from the point. 2 things that they told me during that meeting that really made no sense to me was I was known as Ea in the past. They said I was of the Nephilim bloodline incarnated, and I was once known as the water bearer. And I was like, man, it's like, to me at that time, it was like someone coming up and going, hey, you're the Easter bunny. It's like, well, what does that mean? Water bearer. But now, 8 years since then, so much has happened, and I understand now they've communicated exactly what they're talking about. And the first thing came through me asking them, saying, well, listen, if you are who you say you are, put the name Ea and Inky into a crop circle. I'm a student of that subject. I can guarantee you, I know when every new crop circle shows up, I will notice it. And that will be my sign to myself, confirmation that you are who you say you are, and that I am who you say I am. Then this next thought in my head was, I'm sorry, I got a frog in my throat. I don't know. But anyhow, I thought, how silly of a request. Can you imagine a crop circle showing up and had Inky written in cursive?
Right.
You know, like, what the hell is that going to prove?
Right.
But then my second thought was, well, you'll figure it out. Think of an interesting way to do it. Then I got really cocky. I said, while you're at it, encode it with something only I would be able to decode. And I left it at that. And that was early 2009. Well, 2 years went by. No magical crop circle showed up. That was my response from them. But I just sat back on the sidelines and waited. Well, in 2011 in Italy, a crop circle showed up. And for the first time, it was signed. And it was signed EA Space Inky. And it was based off a 7-pointed star. And at the end of each star was a row of ASCII binary code. And anyone just type in EA Inky crop circle.
Yeah, you've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah, right on. It's a real deal, you know. So what you find out, though, is it's based on a 7-pointed star. And the reason that this even occurred was I was on this mission. I had really started to study cymatics, and I tracked down every note of the musical scale and its attached cymatic image tuned properly. And so I had created these crystal discs that I create and sell. They're called, I call them Anunnaki energy discs. But anyhow, I just got to the one that was made from 4 octaves below 432, which is 27 hertz. And it made a perfect 7-pointed star.
Wow.
I'm sitting there looking at this going, wait a minute, why does this look so familiar to me? I didn't realize, because I had asked them to put that crop circle and it showed up, I was really excited. So I made a disc, a crystal disc, out of the Inky crop circle image. I didn't even realize they're both based on a 7-pointed star. It was just because I created after that this note for the musical scale.
Right.
And all of a sudden I'm just sitting there thinking, just look at it, it'll come to you. I'm like, God, this looks so familiar. After about 10 minutes, nothing came to me. I just gave up. Put the disc down. When I looked to my right, first thing my eyes gazed on was that Inky crop circle disc, and I seen the 7-pointed star, and tears flowed. It was revelation. I was like, oh my God, they did encode it. It's that the Inky crop circle is based off a 7-pointed star that's based on 432 frequencies. They did encode it with something only I would be able to decode.
Yeah, that's trippy. That's trippy.
Dude, it gets even trippier because you find out that 7-pointed star is the actual symbol for the Cherokee Native American Indian tribe of Indians.
Right.
And it's also sitting in it's the world map from Babylon that sits in a museum right now is based on a 7-pointed star. They've been trying to guide us into these 432-based cosmic harmonious frequencies since day one. Like when you find out of Sumeria, look at our time system, our system of timekeeping that was given to us. Just get a calculator out and look at how many seconds is in 12 hours. It's 43,200. When we'll get into who the mound builders are because they are the true Nephilim bloodline here. It's not these Eastern Skull and Bones, Illuminati. That's not who the Nephilim are. The Nephilim comes in through the Native American Indians. And you'll find out that these mound sites are encoding 432 octave information in the actual dimensions and layouts of these ancient mound sites. It's like they've been just drip feeding us, waiting for us to catch up for a very long time. And I think that should prove to people right there that they're not this evil race that people portray them to be, because they've been trying to help us. And if they meant us harm, we wouldn't even be talking right now.
No, that's a fact.
We'll get into Bigelow with that, because I was just listening to John Alexander. You know who he is.
Yep.
He's like, you know what it showed us is it's in charge. He said we're still mystified. Those are his own words. We'll get into that.
John Alexander?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. We'll get to that in just a second. I wanted to ask you, with the Marduk that you met at the Genie bottle, when was the last time you saw him?
Actually, dude, this is going to be very interesting to you. You know, I've become friends with Dan Reed.
Yes.
And Dan Reed was in town. I was playing guitar for him in Cleveland. And Dan is very enlightened. He actually went and lived with the Tibetan monks.
Yep.
And he's a very serious cat when it comes to spiritual study.
He's really, you know what? I'm going to say this about Dan Reed. We were talking about him earlier today. He has really evolved. The transformation that he has done he's still got the pipes. His vocals have evolved too as well. When you think about what he was singing like and writing songs like, 20, 25 years ago. But he has evolved as a person. He is completely changed. Completely changed to what he was doing back in the early 90s. You look at him today, and you can just see how he has evolved, both spiritually. He has become a pure adult. He's really got his head on his shoulders, but it has been just an amazing transformation. And his music today is better than it's ever has been. And he's written some really, really powerful stuff over the years, but he has really evolved as a person.
I'll tell you what, he's one of the most enlightened people I've ever met. And I've actually learned more about the bloodline from him. And imagine from what I've went through that, he was just in town, and I had him in for a private house party. I spent 3 days with him. So I got to talk to him about all this because, the first time I met him, just out of nowhere, he said, "Michael, you're of the bloodline." I said, "What?" Like, I know I've heard something about it, but I really don't know what it means. And he said, "It's royal blood." I hope he doesn't mind me saying that.
Well, you know what? I know that we're gonna get him on the show, and I can't wait. I cannot wait to get into that conversation. And this is what else is bizarre. This is called synchronicity. This is when you realize that 6 degrees of separation is an untruth. It's more like 2 degrees of separation. And so this connection with Dan Reed and you and I, well, it gets trippier for the audience. They don't know this, but Dan Reed's guitar player, Brian James, is an old friend of mine of 25 years. I've known this guy, and he, and he's been Dan Reed's guy forever. And this weird connection between you, myself, and Dan Reed and Brian James is just, it's ridiculous. It's weird how life moves along, and these weird coincidences, these synchronicities just pop up, and you just can't ignore them. And so there you go. It's just bizarre. I just got email from Brian like 2 weeks ago, and he said that their tour just ended, and now he's back in Belize where he lives. And he was just reaching out to shout out, and here we are talking about him on the show today. It's just a bizarre, the bizarre road of life,
Yeah, synchronicities. As I've been told, the more you pay attention, the more they grow until all doubt is taken away that something's communicating with you.
Yeah.
But let's save the rest of that for we'll get Dan on, because he's a profound guy, and I've learned more about the bloodline from him and through his study with the monks, and but anyhow, so getting back to the first person that Marduk came through, the first time Dan was here and I was playing a concert with him, I told him about all of this, and he said, "Can you call him? I would like to meet him. Invite him to the show. I'll put him on the guest list." He showed up. Marduk showed up to the Dan Reed show, Jimmy.
What?
That's a weird. You can ask him yourself, man. You can't make this stuff up. So he got to meet him, and afterwards, I got to talk to Dan. He goes, he's holding back something, that's for sure. And but he had invited me over to his house, and I'll tell you what happened is I was dropped off into the middle of bad cop camp.
Right.
And, he could invite me over his house as much as he wanted, and I was like, no, thank you. I got a feeling of that, and it didn't feel good at all. But it was weird because it kind of left me in this state of, I thought that once you did this spiritual homework and weeded the fear and doubt out of your belief system, that it led to something good. It left me out in the wilderness. I was broken. I didn't even want to talk to anyone. I'm like, I have nothing to even say, because I was tested at a level of soul testing during that 2008 period. It wasn't until Dan Reed came. It was like, to me, he was the light coming to show me a justice. Because I'll tell you what, when reading Marduk and everything, things got really multidimensional, and it was very strange. But it was in a very dark kind of, think of this, what we're talking about. It's already been released in even like Ghostbusters. Remember when that whole team is going up before the judge, and they're like, what are we supposed to tell the judge? That we're going up against some Babylonian god that takes the form of whatever you fear?
Right.
And it's like, it's not Babylonian, it's Sumerian.
Right.
You know? And then they're on top of the building. They're like, everyone clear your mind. It's going to take the form of whatever you fear the most. And, you know, Ray turned it into the Stay Puft Marshmallow.
Yes.
Ray, what did you do? But that's what we're talking about, this bad cop side. It's there to make sure they're there to prove to Yahweh, which I know that's fucking crazy. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Beep.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
That's what I found out, dude. This is where I wouldn't even have known, but for real, what's about to be revealed to the planet is that the name Yahweh was known to the Cherokee and the Iroquois long before the First Testament of the Bible. The first copy of the Ten Commandments ever found was removed out of an earthwork in Newark, Ohio, out of one of these mound sites. It was in Egypt. And so Yahweh sits, because I've met him now. I know it's strange, but he's Enlil. He's my brother. And he brought me before this. The Ancient Aliens had this show, actually it's called The Mysterious Nine. It's about how this council of nine has been known throughout all the world's religions, whether it's Egypt and the Egypt pantheon or Greece or whatever. Well, in this council of nine, it becomes known that there's 7 seen and 2 unseen members. So I was invited to this Sundance, which is a sacred Native American Indian ceremony, and I didn't know that I was truly being brought before this council. And after 2 days, I finally told the chief, I said, you know, I respect your right to do this, because I don't know if you know what a Sundance is, but there's a lot of flesh and blood sacrifices and offerings going on where they pierce themselves and put needles through their skin and whatnot. It's pretty hard to watch, to be honest with you. It really broke me down. But after 2 days, I told him, listen, I'm not Sundancing. I said, I respect and would respect your right to do it, but these aren't my ways. And then all of a sudden he said, Michael, I'm so glad you didn't enter that circle. He said, Spirit looks at anyone that would participate in these flesh and blood sacrifices as prostitute. And he pointed out there. Boy, I went off on a tangent.
No, I'm following. We're all with you there. And this is where I kind of want to ask you the overall question. Do you think that all of your questions and knowledge that you wanted about the Anunnaki have been answered at this point?
Yes, because everything that they told me when I met them in 2008 came to fruition at this Indian Sundance. And it was just last June. So that's a whole 8 years. And I'll tell you what I mean. Like I told you that at the first meeting, they told me I was once known as Ea. Mm-hmm. I thought that was strange, you know. Mm-hmm. But now come full 8 years at this Sundance, the day before the Sundance is called Tree Day. And they do this ceremony where they go and take a tree that's going to be used in this Sundance ceremony. And once we were done with that and we're going back to the car, someone grabbed my shoulder and they said they're having a grandfather meeting and your presence is requested. I went, what the heck? You know, okay. And he goes, they're over there, and he pointed into the woods. So I walked over there, and when I got there, there was a young Sundancer, a female, who's become a dear friend of mine. And I'll give a shout out to her, Amanda. Hey, Amanda. When I walked over, I didn't even say anything. She pointed into the woods, and she said, they're right in there. You can't miss them. So when I went into the woods, there was nothing there. And it wasn't easy to get in there. And I really started to think, I'm like, am I being Indian punked? You know, like,
right.
What's going on here?
Yeah.
So by the time I got my way out of there, I was all scratched up. It was like thicket and thorns, and you know, my legs were bleeding. So we get back to the Sundance grounds, and right when we got there, this little girl, she's probably about 8 years old, she came running up to me and she goes, Spirit told me to tell you that you didn't see the grandfathers because they were in spirit form. Well, it almost short-circuited my brain. I said, what? What did you say? She said, Spirit told me to tell you the grandfathers, you couldn't see them because they're in spirit form. And I said, how did you know that? And she got a big smile on her face. She goes, Spirit told me. And she ran away. So at this point, I'm just going, what is even going on? I'm not married. I don't have children. Like, what is this grandfather thing? So a little bit later, one of the grandmothers, because people might not know this, but to the Native American Indian culture, by the way, I'm Iroquois on my mother's side and Erie Montauk on my father's. And so this grandmother sits me down and she starts telling me she actually works with the 13th dimensional grandmothers, and we'll get into why all this is, because the Nephilim bloodline comes in through the Native American Indians. So when you start to realize these things, what I'm saying kind of makes sense, that the grandmothers are very high dimensional beings. She said, well, after 5 minutes of talking to her, a woman came up and said, and talked to her for about 5 minutes. And when she walked away, she goes, thank you so much for your time, grandmother. Oh, is this your grandson? She goes, no, this is the grandfather. Again, I'm going, wait a minute, man. I don't even understand why they keep saying this. So a little bit later, me and a buddy were outside the Sundance grounds, and one of the grandmothers, another one entirely, she pulled up in her minivan. She said, Michael, would you get in the van? I would like to talk to you for a minute. So when I got into the van, she said, I want to tell you about the bloodline and how it came into North America. And she said, first of all, it'd be helpful if I brought up a map of the United States. And she took her hand and waved it over the inside of her windshield of her minivan, and a map of the United States appeared. It looked like a Star Wars holographic red computer map of the United States showed up out of nowhere. And she looked at me and she said, I know you can see it. I was like, yep. It's right there. It's like you can't. Yeah, there is a map of the United States. She proceeded to use that map for the next 15 minutes to show me how the tribe went in, and now they've split into the bloodline, which is the Atlanteans, by the way, is what we're talking about. We can get into that. They came in and they became known as the Mound Builders. They intertwined into mainly the Iroquois, the Cherokee, which is blood brothers to the Iroquois, and the Sioux Indian nation, which is Lakota, Dakota, and Nakota. So she said, what you need to know is something about the dialect of the Sioux tribes. She said the exact same word. Let's use grandfather, for instance, is what she said. I'm like, great, here's this grandfather stuff again. She said the same word for grandfather in Lakota ends in LA. The same word for grandfather in Dakota ends in DA. And the same word for grandfather in Nakota ends in NA. And she said, actually, Chief Golden Light Eagle always picks on her and goes, oh, you're from La La Land, because she's Lakota. Anyhow.
Well, we got to take a break. We got to take a break right here. So let's get this in. We'll pick this up when we come back on the back side. And then we've got to tie all of this stuff together with Bigelow Aerospace. We're going to do all of that next with Michael Lee Hill. This is Fade to Black. I'm your Jimmy Church. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
So I get out of the shower this morning. I'm looking in the mirror, and not to brag, but my beach body is coming back. I'm not fearing shorts and bathing suits this summer. And thanks to naturesyouth.com, I'm here to help you too. The anti-aging experts, Nature's Youth RSF, they've developed an all-natural amino acid supplement that supports my body to naturally increase HGH levels without synthetic hormones. You see, HGH, or human growth hormone, it's produced by the pituitary gland, and it's essential for growth and regeneration of my cells and tissues. Elevated HGH levels can contribute to not only increasing my energy, improving my libido, and reducing my body fat, but overall improving my exercise capacity. Now, just by watching what I eat, doing a little exercise, and taking my daily dose of Nature's Youth RSF, I'm in a swimsuit, and I'm happy to be there. My beach body is back. I want you to get yours. Join me today and look better and less with help from Nature's Youth. It's easy. Go to naturesyouth.com. That's naturesyouth.com. And bring on the sunshine.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRAradio.com.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. There's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Michael Lee Hill, Shredder. Yeah, man, Michael.
Bumper stick, the bumper music.
Yeah,
awesome.
That's Doug Aldridge, man. Chris Frazier. Right I wanted to ask you: do you believe that you were chosen to do the work that you do, or maybe there were some arrangements made before you were born? Or in your current body, or do you think it was your own personal interest?
It had to be. But let me, this will take 1 second because what I just went through with the grandfather thing will make no sense and how it relates to anything. After all of that, I found out the most ancient word for grandfather in Dakota is Ea-Da. It is Ea.
Wow.
Grandfather is Ea. And they told me earlier that I was known as Ea, and that's how they communicate. The NSA people that I work with, they call it topological thinking. And when you come into contact and have conversation with a multidimensional being, the communication is multidimensional. Just like I explained to you with them bringing more information on me being Ea, it came through synchronicity of actual people at this latest Sundance. So I just wanted to say that so everything makes sense.
It does. Everything does tie back together. I got about 4 emails back to back, and there's a bunch of questions that are repeating themselves in Twitter going back to your blood type. Is it RH negative?
Man, people ask me that so often, and the truth is I don't know. I have a needle phobia. Like if the History Channel would have told me they were going to have my blood drawn, I probably would have said no, because maybe it's from past life stuff, maybe it's the whole needle thing. I do not like needles, and I've never even given blood. And so they know what it is. I know that I should just call the Boston hospital and get a copy of the blood work that they did for me, because they would know. But
well, what happens if you break your arm and you go to the hospital and you're bleeding and they need to give you blood? What are you going to tell them?
I wouldn't know what to tell them. I really, honest to God, I do not know my blood type. I know the NSA people said it's the Anunnaki bloodline. From what I understand, that is type O, RH negative.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not going to say when I really don't know. All I know is the creatine kinase part of it.
Okay.
So I hate to say I don't know. I know that sounds silly, but
I can only ask what everybody is posting here. So so back to let's get back to the Bigelow Aerospace. Did you watch the 60 Minutes piece from last weekend?
I just seen something where they posted him actually speaking. Just about the alien part of it. I didn't see the whole thing. I'm going to try to track it down because I'd like to see.
Okay.
I love him, man. I think Robert Bigelow, thank you for having the balls. I guess when you're a billionaire, it doesn't, you can say whatever you want.
Right.
I just like his attitude. They're like, you think, are you going to care if people laugh at you? He's like, I don't care.
No, when you're sitting on enough money to buy an island somewhere, you don't care what people think. Or at least you shouldn't care what people think, because I'm broke and I don't care what people think. So there you go.
Right on.
I wouldn't change. I wouldn't change a bit. But you did watch that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Now, I'm going to let you expand on this. As soon as all of this broke, you reached out to me immediately, and it was one of those things. Because I remembered our conversation, the first one that we had. It was probably 2-3 years ago now. I can't believe it's been that long. It doesn't feel like it, but it has been. About Bigelow. Okay, so, what happened with you with Bigelow?
Well, what happened was the Lake Erie UFO phenomenon. First of all, I started to really research it, and I found out it's been going on. I found newspaper articles back into the 1800s, and the indigenous Native American Indians in this area called them wizard lights. And some of the newspapers said that these people, like along the shoreline, would see, they thought it was some kind of burning ship up above the horizon, as some type of mirage or optical illusion. And they would send boats out thinking that they were going to find a ship on fire or something. They would never find anything. And I find out it's been going on here for a very long time. It's the same. This is the location of the famous 1988 Coast Guard event, where the Coast Guard went down and made an official Coast Guard report. Richard Dolan considers it one of the top 10 UFO events ever because of the government documentation.
Mm-hmm.
But fast forward, 2003, well, I started filming them in 2005. Like I said, I seen them started accumulating quite a library. Well, the activity had just increased until in 2011 there was a mass sighting here, and these orbs of light UFOs were showing up nightly. And people can type in MSNBC Lake Erie UFOs. You'll see it went all the way to MSNBC. They called and they talked to Nick Pope, and he was talking about some of the footage and whatnot. Well, what happens right now during this time, me and another contactee here that was filming the same objects, his name was Eugene Ehrlich. He lived about 3 miles from me in these apartments that were right on Lakeshore Boulevard. Well, what had happened was during this time of a mass sighting, he and I had filmed the exact same UFO the same night, same time, and got it from 2 different viewpoints. I got it coming down the lake from right to left. He picked it up 3 miles down further and filmed the rest of what I filmed.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking on a radio show, and what had happened was I got contacted by this investigator from Bigelow Aerospace at this time. What you got to know, too, is Bigelow Aerospace at this time, and they got into this in the 60 Minutes show. If you recall, they said they confirmed that if you went to the FAA, you'll find out that for years, every single pilot and ground control report was sent to Robert Bigelow. They were put in charge through John Alexander, by the way. What is it, senator, I believe? Or anyhow, to be the person that would look into this subject for the powers that be. And that he had this investigator, his name was Gary Hernandez, and I have all this information. I've had all of his correspondences saved, everything I learned, and I learned a lot. We became friends. He contacted me, but what I want to say is Bigelow had bought and funded MUFON at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So I found this very interesting. Simultaneously, two things happened. One was MUFON came in and said, these are just airplanes coming into Hopkins Airport. And I'm like, well, they're going the wrong way, and they're coming up out of the lake. That's a freaking weird airplane. Actually, me and Eugene were just talking about it like this. It's like, what is going on? This is really strange, because they were trying to shut the story down. There ain't no way around it. But simultaneously, you got MUFON coming in and trying to shut the story down, while behind the scenes, we're getting contacted by Bigelow Aerospace. And Gary Hernandez tells me.
Well, let me jump in. Who from MUFON contacted you? Do you remember?
Yeah, Tom Wertman was his name.
Okay.
And I'm not gonna. No, obviously, because here's what happened. He comes on and says one thing, but behind the scenes, we know we're getting contacted by Bigelow, who owns MUFON. And this investigator said, Michael, we know that what you're in contact with over Lake Erie is the real deal, because it's the exact same phenomenon, and we know it, that we've been studying over the Skinwalker Ranch for the last 20 years. And so Skinwalker comes from the Native American Indians would see these orbs of light come down.
That's right.
And they would see the orb take on biological life form, like a giant wolf or a giant deer.
And why do you think MUFON? What made you feel that? Not to get into specifics or names or anything like that, but just in general, what made you feel like they were trying to shut this down?
Because they were just absolutely. When you are the one that actually filmed it, and I'm sitting there showing them film of these objects coming out of Lake Erie, and them going, "Oh, that's just an airplane." I'm going, what? Like, that doesn't even make any sense, man. Like, and simultaneously, when I knew Bigelow owned them, and I'm talking to this investigator, I'll tell you what, right here is a really great place to add this, because what he said, this is his own quote. This is Gary Hernandez from Bigelow at this point, goes public and says, in regards to the lights of Lake Erie, I am not absolutely convinced that they are coming from a conventional aircraft. As an investigator, I must completely objective with any info reports which has multiple witnesses. BASS, which is Bigelow Aerospace Advanced Space Studies, employees are paid for professionals. All the investigators are formal law enforcement detectives who have a higher degree set of skills and experience. MUFON takes anyone who pays the money and passes the test and works for free. That does not make them a credible source for information for me to accept their conclusions. That was his own words. And so it was very strange to me to see Gary coming out publicly about saying, I don't know what MUFON is trying to do, but we know that's bull crap.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
This ain't my words. This is Gary's words. Mm-hmm. But he told me, he said, we've been studying this phenomenon. And I don't know if you've seen because like I said, John Alexander was the contact between the government who set up for Bigelow to look into this. And he just released a interview about Skinwalker Ranch and what he experienced there. And he said, what we learned is it's in charge, and that's for sure, and we remain mystified. And he said it was more complex than they would have ever imagined. And they said, have you come to a conclusion to the intelligence behind the phenomenon? And he says, yes, we have. We've come to the conclusion we're up against the trickster.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
that's self-explanatory.
It is. It really is. It really is. Okay, so back to let's get back to Gary. So, you started a correspondence with him. He says he knows what you are seeing because they are seeing the same things out at Skinwalker. What happens next?
Well, we actually became friends. We discussed a lot, talked on the phone, went back and forth via emails. I found out he was the investigator for the whole northern United States, and he said this phenomenon is all over Niagara Falls. It's over Lake Ontario, but specifically he led me to gave me a course of study pretty much, and he led me to some documents for the UK Ministry of Defense. Remember when they declassified a whole bunch of stuff? But, just because they release it out there and there's 30,000 documents they release, it's kind of like finding a needle in a haystack for what's the good stuff. He pointed me to, you should check this out. Here's what it said. The Ministry of Defense report says, among other things that are indeed noteworthy, that identified aerial phenomenon, they call them UAPs, exist is indisputable, credited with the ability to hover, land, take off, accelerate to astonishing velocities, and vanish. They can reportedly alter their direction of flight suddenly and clearly can exhibit aerodynamic characteristics well beyond those of any known aircraft or missile, either manned or unmanned. Said the conditions for the initial formations and sustaining what is apparently buoyant, charged masses of plasma, which can form, separate, merge, hover, climb, dive, and accelerate, are not completely understood. Here's the kicker, though, Jimmy. Says occasionally and perhaps exceptionally, it seems a field with undetermined characteristics can exist between certain charged buoyant objects in loose formation. The intervening space between them forms an area viewed as a shape, often triangular, which the reflection of light does not occur. This is a key finding in the attribution of what is frequently been called black craft, often triangular and up to 100 feet in length. That's the UK Ministry of Defense.
Right.
So what I want to bring in here, and I think it's a great talking subject, this isn't my opinion. This is the UK Ministry of Defense saying these orbs of light, 3 of them can come together and create a massive triangular craft. But over the Skinwalker Ranch, they're saying one of these orbs of light can come down and become a giant wolf.
Right.
It can become anything in our physical reality, biological to technological, anywhere in time. That's what John Alexander is talking about. This is way more complex than we've even imagined, is what he said. Is because they know they're dealing with the Anunnaki. And see, this version of the Anunnaki, when you start to wrap your head around this isn't what people are talking about when they talk about, sometimes I love Zachariah Sitchin, but it kind of turns into like a space porno or something. It's like these horny space dudes are going around in their jumpsuits thinking they're going to go and have some sex with some females they created.
Right.
That's not what we're talking about, man. That's the lowest common denominator telling of this. When you start to understand this is a cosmic intelligence that can become anything within our physical reality.
Did you ever speak to Robert Bigelow himself?
No, never. Just
Gary?
Just Gary Hernandez.
And what else did Gary disclose to you about Bigelow's knowledge?
He said that they know that these are not UFOs in the way people normally think of UFOs, which is nuts and bolts, metal, physical craft, that these objects have more to do with portals and time travel. That was his own words. And I can tell you, too, just with the same subject matter, when I worked with the NSA, Remote Viewers Group, and in 2012 I worked for Spike TV, and they did a show on my story. And at the very last moment, it wasn't allowed to be aired due to national security. They said my story was just too big. That was the final verdict. And A.R. Borden, who was the head of the NSA secret, reverse engineering, Lockheed Martin, Skunk Works programs, he must have instigated it. He had me brought into a meeting, and there was like 8 people, and I've never seen these people before or after, but he had them explain to me why they shut my show down. We can get into that if you want.
I want to know.
Yeah, he asked the one guy, he goes, tell Michael what we know about these orbs. And he said, we look at the orbs as almost like drones or like scout ships from a multidimensional intelligence, but the intelligence behind the orb might not be from our timeline. It might be from our past or future, he said, which kind of adds to what Gary Hernandez from Bigelow Aerospace saying these objects have more to do with portals and time travel than ships made out of metal and bolts and physicality. He went on to say the phenomenon had been studied in depth as well, over Hasdalen, Norway. And what you find out is Oxford University put like an equipment shack with all the best equipment, different spectrums of light. And it's pretty cool because they released a documentary it was somewhere like 2011, 2012, of all their findings of study there. And it's almost verbatim what the UK Ministry of Defense released of, their findings. And, Gary Hernandez is telling me, well, this is the same. It's really happening worldwide, Jimmy. It's actually getting reported on the news over, Phoenix, over Mexico, over Texas, and they're being treated as isolated events. But once you take those news clips and put them back to back, it's really all of a sudden it hits you. These are the exact same objects. They're flying in the same formations. It's happening worldwide. And that's what, Robert Bigelow said, in that interview. Well, when are we going to meet these beings? And he said, you don't have to go anywhere. They're right here. He said,
right.
Right under people's noses is what he said. So
did A.R. Borden and Bigelow have a connection? Do you know?
No, because I'll tell you who he had a connection with was Philip Corso. A.R. Borden was the one Philip Corso would have went to get technology to farm out to the rest of us.
Mm-hmm.
He was such a brilliant quantum physicist level guy, and he started back then. And, this is an interesting thing, too, because, Bill Burns co-wrote The Day After Roswell. And so I asked him during a radio interview. I was hosting a show for a while, and he came on the show. Beforehand, I said, I heard that there was some stuff Philip Corso left out of The Day After Roswell that he didn't think it was time. And Bill Burns said that's true. So right before the interview, I said, dude, is it okay if I ask you what that was? Make a long story short, we almost went to war during the Cuban Missile Crisis. And the way that it was even averted was we shared reverse-engineered alien technology that got put into MiG fighter jets.
Oh, really?
And so it saved the day, and that was implemented by A.R. Borden.
Interesting. Is Borden still alive?
No, he formed a group of us that, people think 2012 was this big non-event. No one knows the work that was happening behind the scenes. And, every time Nibiru comes through, it comes through every 3,600 years, according to the Sumerian clay tablets. Well, every 3,600 years, it's not catastrophic. It would be in our geographical record and, whatnot. So what makes it a survivable transit and not is where it comes through the solar system. If it comes through and it's between Mars and Jupiter, then we got a fighting chance that it can buffer the effect that it has on our tectonic plates and electromagnetic fields. If it comes through between Mars and Earth, though, it's bad. And for all intent purposes, all points, all signs were it was coming through on a doomsday transit. So they wanted those of us that were Nephilim bloodline, the NSA, to teach us remote viewing so we could contact them through telepathy and ask for their help through these changes. And simultaneously, if you remember, there was Hurricane Sandy in 2012 that was coming into New York.
Right.
And they tasked the team on that. And, dude, I got all this. I should just send all this stuff and you could send it out to the listeners. I have my NSA tasking instructions. They said, listen, we know that you're not weathermen, but we're going to give you the most accurate data from all the satellites of the storm speed and intensity and, direction and whatnot. All you have to do is put your eyes on it. They'll be looking through your eyes and using you as their iPhone. They'll know what to do with this data. All you got to do is lay your eyes on it, read it. We know you're not going to understand it. So we did that, and simultaneously there was an earthquake on the left side of the North American continent, and it was called Earthquake Charlotte. And it created a 20-foot wall of water, a tsunami, that was heading for Mexico. And if you remember, I don't know if you were up that late, but they took everyone from Hawaii and brought them to higher ground. They're like, in 2 hours, this 20-foot wall of water is going to be arriving. And buoys don't lie. There's tsunami buoys.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember.
Remember that there was no storm intensity at all in both cases. Well, what happened was at the end of that, I've never heard AR so upset, like he had fear in his voice. And he said, our mission was successful. The Anunnakis helped us, but we've pissed off the wrong people. He said that there was this group, he called them transhumanists, that truly had a depopulation agenda. So we threw a big monkey wrench into their works, and he said he had fear in his voice. Make a long story short, 3 months later he was dead.
Wow.
And it really bummed me out because he was like a father figure. I had no one else that was giving me, as these things were unfolding in my life, he took me into the fold and taught me. But the thing is, all of his teachings, and I'm still really good friends with the whole rest of the team that he put together. And so that's what happened. They took him out. He said it's the Georgia Guidestones people, It's right there. Keep humanity under 500 million.
He said he told you it was the Georgia Guidestones people that were interfering with him?
Yes, and they're the ones that, because the reason we got involved anyhow is that storm was being artificially steered into New York.
Right.
About Hurricane Sandy. So.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, and I know it sounds crazy, but that's the thing, dude. I got everything to back all this up. It's like, I wish someone would come and ask me for it. I'll gladly give it away.
Wow. Well, I'm your guy. The back to Bigelow. When was the last time you talked to Gary?
That was 2011. Probably about 2014, but in between there was a very interesting thing because there is a researcher and an author, for instance, a couple people contacted me, but this guy's probably the most famous one because he was on that Jesse Ventura conspiracy theory on the Skinwalker Ranch. Mm-hmm. His name's Ryan Skinner, and he is. So he contacts me and said, hey, I just met this Bigelow investigator. He said he couldn't talk to me about the subject because he's under confidentiality oaths or whatever. Mm-hmm. He said, but he told me if I wanted to know what these objects were, I should contact you. So I thought that was really interesting. Me, some guitar player sitting here, and Bigelow Aerospace is sending people my way if they want to know what these orbs of light are. This is crazy.
Yeah. I wonder why they wouldn't talk to Ryan. That's interesting.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it does come down to the fact that it's the Anunnaki. Because when he said it's right under our noses, see, what's about ready to be revealed is their bloodline and their hybrid bloodline and how it ties in with the mound builders. And
well, we're gonna talk about all of that when we come back. Of course, we've got the eclipse coming up in August too as well. So I do want to talk about that, and we're going to take a break right here. But also, I did in my little rant today, I was talking about the missing link, right? The missing link, and I do want to talk about that as well, and where the Anunnaki play into this, and where your knowledge is on all of this. Our guest tonight, Michael Lee Hill. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. We'll be right back.
Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on the smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRAradio.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony. Damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Our guest tonight, Michael Lee Hill. And Michael, right before the break, we started to talk about the Anunnaki. And in my rant opening the show today, I was talking about the missing link, and we will never find the missing link because we were placed here. We were just placed here. I don't know how. We'll find out one day. Something is going to pop. But we were just placed here. I want to know what you know about that, and am I wrong?
I think we are the missing link. You know what I mean? It's like hard to find it when you are it.
Right.
But what I found is they said that they came here to mine gold. There's no doubt about it. They were here for 400,000 years. But their people that came from their planet to mine gold became known as the heroes because it was truly a death sentence for them. And because you've heard of Einstein's twins paradox?
Yes.
Where, the faster you travel through the ether, your perception of time does actually change. And in it, you get a twin that gets in his rocket ship and he travels near the speed of light for 5 years. And when he returns, his earthbound brother would have died 500 years ago. You know the story.
Mm-hmm.
But what people take it a step further in your mind as a little mind experiment. Both twins, both of their wristwatches are still clicking in their own reference. 1 second equals 1 second. They don't understand they're in a different time reference until they try to come and mix the two back together, and then you see the problem. And as crazy as that sounds, I said that they've actually proven it with jets. They put an atomic clock in a jet and an atomic clock on the Earth, and just at the couple 100 miles an hour faster the jet is going, they'll be a few milliseconds off. And the faster it is, it speeds up. But, the Matthew McConaughey movie, Interstellar, they actually started tapping into this because they say, this planet is going at a different rate or it has a different magnetic field. And when you go down to the surface, 1 hour down there is going to equal a month on or whatever in orbit. And what you got to realize is just like the twins paradox, that when one is going faster through the ether, their perception of time changes. Well, every planet has a different speed going through the ether, through our solar system. And the NSA people told me, like at Pine Gap, they truly do have a Stargate. And you can walk through a Stargate and be on Mars now. But Mars now if you tried to report back to the Earth, you would find that you were talking to Earth 1950s right now. So the Anunnaki were having the same kind of problem. They came here to mine gold, but when they returned home, their loved ones had aged at a different rate and whatnot, and it started to cause a real problem, and this was a do-or-die situation for them. So this is one thing I would like to say, because there's this huge misconception that the Anunnaki going around creating slave labor. That's not what happened at all. And they needed help to stop civil war from happening within their own race, and it was a do-or-die situation for them. There was no indigenous life form on this planet that could help. They said there was an indigenous primate that was at about the level of a chimpanzee. And that doesn't mean anything to where that would have evolved to because we all go through these phases of evolution. And, what I heard is the acorn is no less significant than the giant oak it will one day become in the Creator's eyes. It's all valid that we all go through these cycles. But at this point, as much as you might love a chimpanzee, go try to get a chimpanzee to help you mine gold. And help, and I hate to say, take an order, right?
Right.
Well, it was Inky, Ea, myself, I guess, in another incarnation, that said, well, what if we tweaked this primate's genetics, its DNA, with our own, and kind of jump-started its intelligence, awareness, and created a race that might be able to help us with the toil and labor. And the birth of mankind happened then. And it's really interesting because the Sumerian clay tablets said humanity was brought into, their word for it was Eden. Well, that sounds familiar,
Right.
So it was done and it worked. It stopped the Civil War, and up until the last pole shift, things were hunky-dory. We lived in peace and harmony with the Anunnaki here on the planet. There was no homeless, no starvation. Said actually we're more like pampered pets than slave labor. But what had happened was the king of this planet, his name was Anu, and he had taken on a wife who was not Anunnaki. She was Pleiadian. And they had an offspring, and he was Ea. And so Ea was the first real hybrid himself, because up until that point, it was all Anunnaki bloodline. There wasn't two bloodlines flowing through the Anunnaki family tree.
Well, let me jump in. It sounds like Sitchin was half right. He had some things correct. He had the 400,000 years correct. He had the name Anunnaki correct. He had the planet, what they were doing here correct. But we were not created by the Anunnaki, right? Is that what you're saying? That part of the Sitchin story is not the correct one?
Well, it depends, Did mankind create a donkey? You know what I mean? You got to divide the line somewhere. They did genetic work where they took two different races and spliced the DNA together. This was I'll tell you what I've learned is the primate that they genetically tweaked was a Pleiadian soul carrier in the first place. It was just at a young stage of its evolution. And so when I met the Anunnaki in 2008, he told me, he said, we experience time differently than you do. And the only way you would be able to understand it is if you were doing an experiment to raise the awareness and consciousness of a life form, and you had a 2-week vacation coming up, and you went on your vacation, and when you came back, your chimpanzees had created government and religion and music and culture. And so he said even to them, they're like, whoa, what's happened? This experiment, because mind you, there was an experiment that was put into play. None of this will make sense until this is understood, because the last pole shift, that was 27,000 years ago. Hang on, I got to get a drink. Getting dry mouth here. As we said, humanity and the humans were living in peace and harmony. Ea had been born. He had a Pleiadian mother and an Anunnaki father, and all was well. He was Prince Ea. But then later on, Anu severed that relationship with the Pleiadian queen and took on an Anunnaki female, and they had another son, he was named Yahweh, and Enlil was his title, just like Ea was my name, and the title Enki mean En is Lord, Kai is Earth, En is Lord, Lil is Sky. They're titles. It's kind of like the Dalai Lama. Those are not names. His name was Yahweh. My name was Ea. In the Anunnaki succession of kingship, their own cultural rules of pure blood gets the throne before a half-blood. So the throne went to my brother, and he never looked favorably upon the creation of mankind anyhow. And so it gets up to the flood, and they said, well, what can we do? It must be God's will. Let them perish. And as the story goes, he had told Ea to go out and remove the fish. Like, why keep this sustenance when the human race is going to perish anyhow because of this upcoming crustal displacement? So he ordered Ea to remove the fish, and they would take it back to the home world and use it. And he was the king at that point, and you listen to the king when he makes an order. Well, he went out to do it, and he couldn't find himself to do it because he looked at us as family. So instead of obeying orders, he went to his mother's side, the Pleiadians, and said, isn't there anything that can be done? My race is going to let this beautiful upcoming race of consciousness just perish and not lift a finger. And they said, well, what do you have in mind? They think tanked it, and it was the whole Noah's Ark, But it wasn't two of every animal. It was a DNA library. But they could see, using remote viewing technology and being able to see future timelines, that mankind was in Eden. We had everything taken care of for us, and because of it, we were pretty stagnant in our evolutionary growth.
Well, let me jump in really quick. I want to put this into a timeline here. Homo sapiens sapien, us, you and I, that dates back to about 150,000 years ago, 160,000 years ago. You might be able to push it back a little bit further, but that's about it. 150,000 years ago. You are that at that point, 150,000 years ago. Are you saying that's when Enki had his relationship, and that? But if there was only one child born, I'm a little bit confused. I need help here. So how were we placed here? Did we just start, having sex like crazy, or did they alter the DNA?
What they said, Jimmy, was it was 7. They took modified embryos, and actually 7 Anunnaki females took those embryos into their own bodies, took them to term, and birthed the first 7 humans, and those became known as the 7 sisters, the Pleiades. See how it all comes full circle. And
that was 150,000 years ago.
For the creation of mankind, that sounds about right, because they said when we get to 27,000 years ago, there was 400 million of us humans that it got to that point. So it took a little bit of time, for us to get to that point where we were.
Okay. All right.
So they said, well, the Pleiadian elders said, why do this experiment of yours if they're not going to evolve fast enough for the end of this grand cycle? Because they knew thoughts have an electromagnetic reality, and thoughts create reality, and if thought has waveform, which it does, it's energy, and we know in today's science energy can't be created or destroyed. It needs to be transmuted. So how do you transmute a negative thought form? Well, you live it. And you choose love over fear, and it transmutes those energies into their higher octave.
Sure.
Well, they seen that we were being so pampered, and there was no catalyst for change, that we wouldn't work through our shadow work before the end of the grand cycle, which was not 2012, by the way. It was December 21st, 2016 was the end of the calendar. But they seen it. They said, well, why do this if they're not going to make it in time anyhow? Because at the end of the cycle, our magnetic field is very low right now, And that makes thoughts almost manifest instantaneously. So you can imagine if you still got a lot of fear and doubt and nonsense in your belief system, and it's being brought before you almost instantaneously, it's not a good combo. So they said, let's think tank it again. And it was decided among all, they would try something that was never tried before. They would implement an experiment to make mankind experience its own mental energy in an accelerated fashion, both light and dark, unbiasedly. Whatever you put out, you would get back magnified many times. And
well, okay, I'm going to let you finish that thought. Back to the timeline. So that 150,000 year, at what point was that great flood? What year was that?
That was 27,000 years ago. It's very interesting because Edgar Cayce becomes real prominent in this, and the Atlanteans, because he called the Atlanteans the Poseidians. Poseidon is Enki. It's where this all took place, and the bloodline even came from, was Atlantis.
Right.
And he said Atlantis, this is Edgar Cayce. He said it was actually 3 Earth changes that took out Atlantis. One was about 51,000 years ago, and then another one at 27,000 years ago, which is the biblical flood event. And that's where the story and the beginning of the Nephilim to come here and try to steer the experiment from the inside, all of it starts 27,000 years ago. But 10,500 years ago was the final comet coming in that took out Atlantis for the last time. And that's when the Atlanteans, according to Edgar Cayce, and now it's what I'm about to reveal to the world, is they went to the left for the first time, the Atlanteans, and they first met the Mayans, you know. They said, hey, some big white dude named Cody Quetzal came and he showed us how to make these pyramids and the Mayan calendar and whatnot, you know. Well, this experiment was well underway when they met the Mayans. Picture 27,000 years ago is when the experiment went in to accelerate human light and dark so we'd evolve faster. So, you know, that's one thing. When anyone talks about any of this, if you don't take into account that there was this experiment, nothing makes sense.
Right.
Why things got so twisted, you know?
Right.
But here's the deal, is the Pleiadians said, you know, this is a really wild idea, Inky, but it's never been tried. You can't just do that to an upcoming race without walking a mile in their moccasins yourself. And unless you're willing to go under the veil and experience what this is like as a human, we won't agree to it. And because what had happened, he already went against the Anunnaki, and
was
to save humanity.
Yeah, was the flood? I want to stay on this. We only have a few minutes left here. Was the flood global? Was that?
Oh yeah. When the crust slips, it's actually for about 30 days. Picture that the crust is not very thick. It's just like the skin of an orange compared to the whole pulp being the earth. It's like the earth don't tip over. It's just a very thin crust. But the ice caps, there was Charles Hapgood who wrote in the 40s, it's called Path of the Pole. It was all about crustal displacement.
That's
right. And
right.
Albert Einstein wrote the foreword. He said, absolutely, it's physics.
Right.
He said, you got these ice caps, and they're off axis. The earth is slightly tilted, and they want to relocate to the equator when they reach maturity. And it pulls the skin with it. And it's happened many times before. It'll happen again.
Right.
But now we got some help now. It's not going to happen in any way that it did. But what happens is when it lets go, if it happens in free fall speed, the ice cap will relocate to the equator in about 8 hours.
Whoa.
You can imagine, that's like a jet speed. It rips all the atmosphere right off the planet.
Right.
You get woolly mammoths being slammed to the ground and flash frozen. It's not pleasant on the surface. You know?
Right. Very interesting. Okay, so that was 27,000 years ago. We had the comet at 10,500.
Yeah.
The Younger Dryas period. All of that ends.
Yeah.
And here we are today. At what point were the pyramids constructed?
You know, that's a real good question, but all that is in the clay tablets, the Sumerian clay tablets. They actually talk about after the flood creating the pyramids, you know, with the lion to commemorate and whatnot. All those answers are in the clay tablets.
Do you think, I assume that you've read Sitchin's stuff. It's okay if you haven't, but
I read a little bit of it now. It's pretty dry for me, and actually I can go right to source now. And I see, I love Zachariah Sitchin, but everything is filtered through the person that's bringing it through. And, at that phase, he didn't understand the multidimensional aspect of it, because, like I said, the Anunnaki decided to divide into two camps. One would reflect back a negative polarity, and if you went dark, they would show you your dark thought forms up close and personal in hopes you change it. But to those people that had a lot of fear and doubt in their garbage, and you come up against a multidimensional being whose job it is to make you experience your own dark thought forms, you'd say demon. And I think that's why some people, when you talk about the Anunnaki, they're like, oh, they're horrible. And other people are like, no, they're trying to help us and inspire us. Well, it depends on who you're focusing on, team bad cop or good cop. And, it was Graham Hancock, which, by the way, we'll get into that. Graham Hancock had talked about this mural he found on a temple, and he called it the myth of the churning of the Milky Ocean. And he said the most important thing was the Milky Ocean itself, because in their mythology, all of the universe, the multiverse, rested in this Milky Ocean. And there's two teams of churners, light and dark. But it wasn't like it was a war where one was trying to beat the other one. He said there's a lot of spiritual wisdom and trained into this, that they were working in cooperation to churn the evolution of mankind into the higher realms. It's like if you want to go dark, they'll let you experience the folly of your decision up close and personal.
Right. The other parts with Sitchin, like the timing of the orbit with Nibiru being at 3,600 years, is that part accurate?
What I can tell you from the NSA side of things is 2036. Mark my words, is going to be very prominent, and there's multiple reasons. One, there's another comet coming in, and Boyd Bushman spilled those beans, and now the Native American Indians have come forward and said it's true. And I can tell you from the scariest viewpoint that's going to be revealed to man is it's something to be worried about, and they know it, they're tracking it, and it'll be here in 2029. It'll circle twice around the planet, then it'll hit somewhere in Siberia, according to Boyd Bushman. The Native American Indians have come forward, because I'm now with the Star Elder family, and Chief Golden Light Eagle announces during this, what's that called when all the guys get up on the stage at the end? Anyhow, he says we are being allowed to tell that there's a comet coming in 2036, and the moon is said she'll take the hit and put herself in the way of this comet coming in. There'll still be 3 big chunks come down. I can tell you what I found out from the Pleiadians is truly we're having I know this sounds insane, but when this all breaks, I hope this will bring some solace to people, because from the Pleiadian view, they said we're having our second moon flown in. The first one's not natural. It was flown in. It's hollow. They know when the lunar landers landed on it, there's seismographs on it, and it rang like a bell for hours.
Right.
We said our second moon's being flown in. From 2036, Earth will have 2 moons, and our waters will be super regulated, and this will become a paradise. But it's going to be scary, and it's all related to that comet. May very well be one of Nibiru's.
So that's 18 moons. Years. That's 18 years from now. I'll be about 70. Okay. All right. Well, I'll be around hopefully to see all of this happen. How old will you be in 18 years?
I'm 49. So.
Oh, you're a kid. All right. Huh. So you'll be I'll be 70. You'll be 66. Okay.
This will be for another conversation. But honest to God, I got put in contact with the Russian National Security, and I have this Tesla technology I'm wearing right now that's supposed to rejuvenate my cells at a cellular level and increase my lifespan to be over 200. Isn't that crazy crap?
And you're wearing it now? What's it look like?
It's a beautiful piece. It's a quantum supercomputer. People can look into it. It's called Wave Genome. And the woman who's right under Putin, who's part of national security, her name's Irene Caesar. And this technology is already used by Russian Secret Service and their Olympic team. And she said that movie Celium or something that came out, and they got in a big pod and it counted down.
Elysium.
Yeah. Remember they had the cancer machine? The guy that just counted down.
Yeah.
In about 30 seconds said, "You are now cancer free."
Right.
That's this technology, and I've been. I got contacted by the Majestic 12 because of all this and my contact with the Anunnaki, and they've now morphed into what they call what's that?
It's late. It's early in the morning there, man. I get it. I totally get it.
But they put me in contact with Irene Caesar, and I started to learn, and I got gifted this technology, and I got to tell you, I got to the point I didn't know whether to wear it or not because it sounds pretty transhumanist. But I also started to learn that
what's it look like? Well, we have 2 minutes left. What's it look like? What do you mean it's a supercomputer? It's
an egg with a pearloid front to it, but inside of it is a crystal, and they encode the crystal through like lasers using nanotechnology. And each layer, there's 20 different layers in the crystal. It takes a full day to program each layer, and it programs all the body's holographic quantum level biofields from your energy from your childhood. So when your cells divide, instead of making a duplicate of the aged, diseased cell, it makes a perfect, pristine copy from your childhood energetic blueprint.
Do you have an image of it? Do you have a picture?
Yeah, I got it up on my Facebook wall.
Oh, do you really? Okay.
Yeah. I'll send a picture to you anyhow so you can see it.
Man, we're at the end of the show too. Man, dang it, Michael. All right. I want to see this, and very interesting. What I have been into lately, before I say goodnight, really into shungite, which is Russian. And
I'm wearing it right now, Jimmy.
Yeah, I've got a big shungite pyramid. And we just got a bunch more of it in. We got a couple of more pyramids, and we got a ball with a stand, and we've got the what do you call the rods that you put in each hand? Well, we got those too as well. So
you're very wise, because shungite is
badass,
unbelievable material.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
It's this pyramid that I have here in the studio. I'm holding it up for the cameras now so everybody can see it. This pyramid, it's incredible. Incredible stuff. Shungite is, I think it's going to be one of the more popular. The Russians get it. The Russians get shungite. Yeah. And I think it's going to start to take off a little bit more in our world. But look at that shungite pyramid, everybody. Look at it. Isn't that beautiful?
Jimmy, I met a lady who worked for the phone company, and she said she would get discharged because those lines have a lot of electricity. She'd have to have her arm massaged to get all that electricity out. Someone gifted her a shungite bracelet. The next time the electricity discharged, it didn't go any further than the bracelet. She went to the massage therapist, and he's like, "No, there's nothing. It stopped. It absorbed all the electricity that came from that telephone line, and it never went any further." That tells you the power of shungite.
Yeah. I've got the shungite pyramid sits on top of my Tascam 7000 digital converter, which sends everything out, to all of our networks, right? And so it sits on top of that. That's my sound is shungite. I'm serious too, man. I'm not kidding. Michael, I want to thank you so much. Where can everybody get a hold of you?
Well, my website is michaelleehill.net, and my Facebook is Michael Lee Hill, but I'm at that 5,000 point now. So send me a private message, and if you ask me that you want to be friends, and I will make room and
you'll bump somebody. Yeah, I do it all the time. Yeah, I'm constantly
bumping.
It's gotta
happen sometimes, right?
I know, right? Michael Lee Hill, man, you are the very best, and we got to get you back on the show here very, very soon. And next time on, we'll play some of your music.
Right on, brother.
Thank you so much, Michael. Be safe out there and sleep with one eye open. They're watching you.
I'm going to invite him in.
Michael Lee.
I got a Modelo for him.
I'll talk to you.
The Modelo effect.
Michael Lee Hill. Thank you, Michael.
Peace. Thank you.
Michael Lee Hill. MichaelLeeHill.net. I'm always on his website, by the way. I was just reading the letter from A.R. Borden And it's there. You got to check it out. MichaelLeeHill.net. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Take some phone calls and do all of the news that you know nothing about next.
Hey, what up, y'all? It's your girl Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
So you went to dinner last night, you had your favorite pasta. Ugh. Or maybe you had a heavy, spicy meal and it left you. Ugh. Get the tea.com. Maybe you mowed down a huge steak and your plumbing is all plugged. Ugh. Get the tea.com. Our super strength tea will take care of your occasional. Ugh. It's all organic and non-GMO. Get rid of. Ugh. We have so many great supplements, but our super tea is number one. GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of fade to black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy. What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring two Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The two full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129 and use the promo code JCRTWS and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to JimmyChurchRadio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Teppy.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Simple enough, at JChurchRadio. Hashtag F2B is the sandbox. Hashtag F2BQ is Fade to Black questions. Pretty interesting conversation there with Michael Lee Hill. Certainly the parts about the missing link. And I am convinced that we'll never find the missing link because it just doesn't exist. We have been able to complete the fossil record on so many different things, but no, the missing link, we just appeared here, that is not any coincidence. There isn't anything out there that predates us. And I will always talk about the facts. Everybody says, sharks have been around for 75 million years and they're still sharks. Well, that is true. That is there. Anything that has survived, roaches are still roaches, right? As intelligent as they are, they're still roaches. Nothing has evolved. That's where Darwin is just completely wrong. You don't find all of those interspecies things in development. Yeah, minor things have tweaked here and there. Beaks on birds and things, and people will always point that out to me. I get that. I understand that. But any of these dramatic leaps in evolution? No. Sharks don't have feet. They're not walking on land and so forth. Anything. Darwin was completely wrong. How things, if you look at, let me be very basic here. The amount of time that evolution allegedly takes, which is, 100 million years, 50 million years for things to evolve. After, if we look at the last asteroid impact, which was 65 million years ago, which was the extinction of the dinosaurs, 65 million years. And look how everything ended on this planet, but yet all of the species just appeared right after that. It was just like life was instantaneous, like it just happened overnight. And every great extinction period, the same thing happened. I don't know. I have no answers. It makes me feel like there was, somebody visiting this planet and saw that it was perfect and maybe came by and visited and saw that there was nothing here, nothing. And they gave us trees and life and just, just opened up canisters and just allowed genetic material to just, it's like like Johnny Appleseed, walking around and throwing seeds around. Something happened, and it happened a lot. But when you look at us humans, we are so, when you just talk about basic science, I mean the basics of everything. The same chemicals and minerals and acids and things are all over the universe, right? And they are the same things that are here on this planet. Why are we so unique? Why are we so unique? Why is there only us here? And why did we just appear when we did? And we don't have that missing link to answer all of those questions. If the missing link was there, and we were able to go, okay, here it is, boom, 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 and we checked the DNA, and this is how this happened, and here is us before, and this is, and if all of that was there, then we would look back and say Darwin was right, and those are we don't have that. We quite simply don't have that. And any other species, anything else, forget about us for a second, but anything else that you want to point at, there isn't an evolutionary process that was there. It just seems like everything had its own purpose. Caterpillars and frogs and gazelles and lions and tigers and bears and elephants and giraffes and us. Everything is just unique. It just feels that way to me. And the odds of, again, I just go back to everything. I'll argue with any biologist. I'll argue to forever on this. The odds of all of these unique things happening, the odds of that are just so tremendous, it's beyond. So therefore, I am comfortable in saying that there is a bright race of beings out there that just brought us here. I'm okay with that. It answers all of the questions. It just answers everything. The I didn't even open up the phone lines, but they're going off. Okay, I'll do it. I'm going to put you on hold there. You just wait, though. I didn't even open up the phone lines, but I just saw them start to ring. 323-825-5045, 323-275-9695. Those are the numbers. The odds of when you listen to I don't want to mention names. When you listen to somebody say, hey, lightning struck some crystal that was in a creek and it had some acids on some amino acids, and they were just sitting there and lightning struck it and then DNA. Right? Stop with that. But it's the only way that it could happen, man. It's, you know, the odds of that DNA is so complex and so crazy and so insane that you want me to sit here and believe that it was a roll of the dice? A roll of the dice? No, I'm not buying it. Let's go to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hey, this is Bill. You hear me?
Hey, Bill. Well, you're noisy in the background. How you doing?
Doing great. Wasn't Darwin's experiment, didn't that involve the changing the colors of the hair on rabbits, you know, like for the temperature?
Oh, man, possibly. But what's your question about that?
Well, okay, that's only an alteration to adapt to an environment.
Right.
That has nothing to do with evolution.
Right.
The whole thing is the whole theory is all wrong because of that. See?
Oh, I see what you are saying. Yes, You're always going to adapt to your environment. I mean, it doesn't. Look, Bill, if you're living up in Alaska and you're living in the cold, you know, you adapt to the cold, and the cold doesn't feel as cold to you anymore. You come to L.A. and you die, right? It's just like, oh, man, it's so hot here. Or vice versa. You know, you're always going to get acclimated, whether you're living up high and you get acclimated to the lack of oxygen. You know, your body adapts to that.
Right.
And,
okay, now take that a step further. An animal which can adapt its exterior skin to match the environment which it's in.
Well,
this is what Darwin was studying, and they tried to call it evolution, but it wasn't evolution. It's just a shift.
It's adaptation.
After the environment.
Yeah, it's adaptation. Look, the northern Europeans, where they deal with long winters, lack of sun, and so forth, they don't get vitamin D, right, and absorbed into your skin, and that's
they take supplements.
They take supplements, right? You know, and so they can drink milk, right, with vitamin D in it all day long. There's no lactose intolerance. Don't send me email, everybody, and don't make comments. I'm just cracking jokes here, but where they get in Africa or other, you know, where you have heavy sun, right? You're getting all the vitamin D in the world, and there you're not going to take supplements or deal with milk, right? I mean, it's just called adaptation, man.
It would be like ODing on it, you know. You don't need it.
No, exactly right. So. There you go, and thank you for that. You're right; that has nothing to do with evolution, and I think
it's not really evolution. Even Darwin admitted that himself. But they took the thing and they tried to play a game with it, and this is what they want to say to, you know.
Yeah. No, you're right.
It's just the game they want to play.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Bill.
It's the game they want to play. Darwin himself even admitted, well, this is a shift. It's not evolution. It's a shift for the environment.
Well, if you...
It's already programmed in the animal to do this.
Yes. If you go back and you look at those animations that were created showing Darwinism, from sea creatures to upright humans walking on land, right? And you watch that, and okay, all right, you let your imagination run wild, and it looks like, that could be true. We're talking about, for that to happen, for that continuous thing to happen, which is impossible, but you're talking about 1 billion years, and we've gone through so many extinction periods, and that would have stopped that evolutionary cycle that Darwin was talking about, and he didn't know about all of that other stuff.
I think that's your key right there: the extinction events and the reboots with improvements.
Yep. That's I feel comfortable with that.
Far exceeding what could have happened naturally.
That's what I'm talking about, Bill, and that's why we have the smartest audience in the world. Thank you so much for the phone call, my friend.
Have a good one, brother. Take care.
Talk to you. All right, let's go to the next one. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hi, this is Stephanie from Phoenix, Arizona.
Hi, Stephanie from Phoenix, Arizona. How are you?
I'm great. I'm actually just in the gym right now, and I saw it said open lines on Twitter, so I was like, hey, I'm going to take a break from my workout and call Jimmy Church. So, hi.
That's what I'm talking about. So, did you listen to the show tonight?
No, I didn't. I wish I did to get a better insight, but I wanted to at least call because I actually went to contact in the desert and stuff, and I'm 23, and I've been into this whole UFO phenomenon. I mean, I saw all the researchers, Graham Hancock, Richard Dolan, amazing speakers, and it's just really crazy, like how real and how true this information is, And I feel like more younger people need to be a part of this. Like when my dad asked me oh, how many young people did you see? And I did see some young people, and I know there is young people involved. But I mean, they were all older people. Even David Wilcock is like, yeah, you go to these UFO fests, it's like Sausage Fest or whatever. And and which it kind of is true. And I just wanted to just call in and say support. And I think it's amazing what you are doing with this community, because we have to keep strong. And, it's more than a UFO issue than Dr. Seelinger said. It's technology, all this stuff, and the basic underlining is unite and love, and truth. So I know, sorry, a little.
Yeah,
but yeah.
And Stephanie, let me jump in, because even though you said that you were there and there wasn't that many, but you have to admit there was a wide range. I think everybody was represented. There was a good chunk of younger, middle, and the older crowd. It was a good mix. It wasn't just the over 50 crowd, and you didn't feel alone, and the other thing is, it's a pretty hip crowd too, right? Even the older, pretty hip, pretty cool, pretty good vibe going on there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Even after Richard Dolan talk, I was like, hey, can I have a picture? And he's like, isn't a selfie more personal? And I'm like, how hip is that for Richard Dolan to say? And he's like, come on, let's take a selfie instead. And I'm like, okay. But yes, you're absolutely right. I do feel you do have a great point. Every group was represented, I'm sure you heard I came from Australia, I came from Peru, I came from Costa Rica, and it definitely was well spread. So I'm glad you put that light on that, because that's definitely true.
Did you come up and say hi to me?
No, I didn't. I saw you around, but I was too nervous to say hi, and I didn't want to bother you because, I didn't want to bother too many people. I only tried to bother them when they had time, and you were always, talking to people and always busy. So,
wait.
You
went up to Richard Dolan and got a selfie, and you were cool with that. But you wouldn't come up to me? That doesn't make any sense, even though he is, the coolest dude in the world.
Well, the only reason why I felt comfortable was because at Contact in the Desert, I woke up early to have breakfast, and then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to nonchalantly sit next to Nick Pope. I saw Nick Pope, and then I saw Michael Salad, and I saw Richard Dolan, and I just naturally acted like a cool kid, just having like breakfast with them, like I didn't know him. And Richard Dolan's like, oh man, you know, Graham Hancock is like a celebrity. I wish people would come up to me like that. And then I'm like, oh, I have your book After Disclosure, and I'm like, can you please sign it later? And that's why I only had the nerve to even like got a selfie with him, which that's kind of a funny story, but
Smooth, Stephanie, you're smooth. You're smooth. It was a good plan, and it worked. Yeah, and I want to thank you for the phone call, and don't be a stranger to the show, and the next time that you see me out there, come up and say hello, all right?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Jimmy Church, for answering this call, and thank you for everything you're doing. This is a really great community, and just you putting the effort, having a radio station, speaking up, and having every speaker, like Jordan Maxwell the other day, like you are doing a great job, and like thank you for all of your work.
Thank you, Stephanie. Don't change, and now go finish your workout.
Okay, thank you, Jimmy. I'm going to tweet you, okay?
Thank you so much. Yeah, tweet now. I'll talk to you.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Jimmy. Have a good night. Bye.
You too. There you go. Stephanie working out in Phoenix and just happened to be on Twitter and saw open lines. Thank you for that, Stephanie. Yeah, and look, I keep driving this home. That was one of the greatest things about Contact in the Desert. Totally hip, totally cool. Everybody was represented there. Every walk of life, of just different, cultures around the world. She's so right about that. You know, everybody coming together. Totally cool vibe there. Thank you so much for that. All right. I want to see her tweet. I want to see who she is in Twitter. I've got everything open. When she pops in, make sure that I see it, somebody. Okay. All right. All of the news that you know nothing about. I don't know if you heard about this today, but WikiLeaks, Julian Assange is calling for the woman who allegedly leaked top secret NSA documents to The Intercept to be supported, and that the reporter who gave her information to the United States officials should be named and shamed. The FBI arrested Reality Lay Winner, 25 years old, at her home in Georgia this past weekend on Saturday, and charged her with, and I'm quoting here from the documents, removing classified material from a government facility and mailing it to a news outlet, end quote. That is what the charges were. Assange took to Twitter today, and he's encouraging the public to support Winner, who he says, and I'm quoting from his tweet earlier today, she's a young woman accused of courage in trying to help us know. The secret report, which was published by The Intercept yesterday, alleges that Russian military intelligence launched a cyber attack on a voting machine software company here in the United States and sent spear phishing emails to more than 100 local election officials just days before the 2016 presidential election. Coincidence? Yeah, and coming up on Thursday, of course, we've got Comey that is going to be answering questions before Congress. That starts here Pacific time, 8 a.m. in the morning. That's about 3 hours before I get up, but I will be forcing myself awake Thursday morning so I can watch this stuff live. I, like the rest of the country, will be glued to it. Apparently, by the way, ABC, CBS, NBC, and Fox are going to be breaking in with their normal programming to air this. I don't think this has happened going back to, well, I think Iran-Contra. I think that stuff was broadcasted live, but I don't know the last time anything like this was on regular network television. Pretty interesting. That'll be this Thursday, but to have this revealed today, very interesting. And it makes me wonder, this is my conspiracy hat. When Trump came out and was all bent on the NSA wiretapping the CIA, the intelligence community, and how crap the intelligence community was. And I had said that, dude, they are your friend. They are the one thing that you need to depend on. Don't go and piss them off. They are going to be there after you leave office, whether it's 4 years, 8 years, or 4 months. It doesn't matter. When you leave, they're still going to be there. Those are career people in the intelligence community. And he went out and said that. And then, boom, this pops, where you've got this reality lay winner just appearing out of nowhere, releasing a report about Russian intelligence interfering. Strange. Completely strange. Well, then again, not really. Well, let's see here. Okay, I can get a few more stories in. The United States military is providing active support for the Syrian Democratic Forces, the SDF, in the form of howitzers, Marines, by the way, howitzers, and valuable close air support. That's a quote coming from the military, from Apache helicopters in the SDF's attack on Raqqa, the so-called capital of the Islamic State. The mainly Kurdish SDF began its long-awaited siege on the Islamic State stronghold in Syria yesterday, a week after the United States began delivering arms. Coincidence? Right? Now they're saying it was machine guns and ammunition, but assault rifles. Coalition warplanes and military began strikes yesterday afternoon and have continued throughout today. Now, Mosul, just about done. Raqqa, they're saying that Raqqa is going to fall very quickly. This isn't going to be like the same situation it was in Mosul. So we will see. But now that these two cities have fallen, what is left with ISIS? Very interesting days ahead. U.S. investigators believe Russian hackers breached Qatar's news agency and planted a fake news report that contributed to that crisis among the United States' closest Gulf allies. Now, I talked about this yesterday. The FBI recently sent a team of investigators to Doha, to Qatar, to help the Qatari government investigate the alleged hacking incident. Intelligence gathered by the United States security agencies indicates that Russian hackers were behind the intrusion, first reported by the Qatari government 2 weeks ago. And you have to ask yourself, why would we send a team from the FBI? Well, let me answer it for you. Qatar hosts one of the largest U.S. military bases in the world. That's why. And for Qatar to suddenly be on that list where, you know, Egypt, Yemen, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, everybody just suddenly is expelling Qatari citizens, have shut their ports down, no more air flights in and out of Doha. Everything got shut down nearly immediately. And now the FBI jumps in and says, hey, it was the Russians. Very interesting. All right, with that, I got to get out of here. Tomorrow night, don't forget, we are going to do our Disclosure Fest Los Angeles special. We're going to have the producers in for the event and also some speakers that will be speaking down there along with yours truly. And that's what we are going to do tomorrow night on the show. Fade to Black's executive producer is Rita Kamarian. Show is produced by Hilton J. Paul, Mark D. Kovar, LJ3, Renee, Jonas. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vito, and Mark D. Kovar. Fady by Dale, Webmaster, Drew, The Geek, Music, Doug Aldrich, Intro, Spaceboys, SpaceboyMusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2017 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Until tomorrow night, I want everybody to be safe. Go Beckley Tappy.